Sweaties, I'm back. It's me, Hannah. I'm so sorry it's taken me a long time to make this video. To be honest with you, I just have not wanted to. Why it's been taking me a minute. My anxiety just all of a sudden skyrocketed. I finished up taking all my notes and I was like, great, I'm ready to film. And then it was like 2 days of just things were happening in life. I've been on side quest journeys for the summer. Just haven't really been into it as much. But whatever, we're here, well, we're not past it, but I'm able to do this now. We're gonna go ahead and get it going again. If you're joining in on this video, I'm guessing you saw the thumbnail, so you know what the hell we're doing here. I'm breaking down the entire Hunger Games series. Yay! And the hope is to have it all done by the time, I'm sure we'll have it done by then, but have it done by the time Sunrise on the Reaping, that film comes out. There's 5 installments of this series. We are on number 3 in the final book of the original trilogy. We are going to be tackling Mockingjay. I have to be honest with you, this is probably my least favorite out of the entire series. I don't know. I've reread the series this is my 3rd time rereading it, I think. The first time I read it, it took me forever to read it. I just couldn't get into it at all. Second time around, which was just a couple years ago when Songbirds and Snakes came out, I was like, let me just reread the whole series. That time around when I reread it, I was like, okay, it's a little bit better than I remember, but it's still And this time around, I found it a little bit more enjoyable than the first 2 times I read it. But still, overall, it's just not my favorite. I like aspects of it, and I think it's a good ribbon to put on the original trilogy. I really don't know what it is exactly about it that just doesn't tickle my fancy. We're gonna go ahead and get through it. I don't want that to impede on your experience. I'm gonna treat it just as I would any other. Look how thick my notes are. Look how crazy that is. It's only 27 chapters, but it took me like 40-some pages to print out. I've changed out some things on the board. I've added our fallen victors from the last games to the Womp Womp graveyard. I've changed out a couple of pictures. Katniss got a new picture for this. Prim, she just appears to be a lot older in this one, and so I just wanted to age her up. Who else? Did print off a newer picture of Beatty. His Victor tribute picture didn't look all that great. And then I also have Finnick Odair, okay? And also Annie. Now Annie was only mentioned a little bit in Catching Fire. She is in love with Finnick. They're together. She has been taken by the Capitol. I'm gonna get into it. Guessing if you're jumping in at this video, you know of what's going on. I'm not gonna go into extreme detail about where we're at in the story because I have 2 other videos that are about 3 hours long explaining how we got here. You can check those out. Let me put these people on the board real quick. Where did we leave off, you may ask? Let me remind you, the 75th Hunger Games 3rd quarter quell has just ended abruptly because Katniss Everdeen, she saw that BT was trying to blow up the arena that they were in using the force field, some wire, attaching it to the lightning tree. It didn't work. He almost killed himself. And she was like, I'll do it. She takes her arrow, ties the wire to it, shoots it up into the sky. The arena is destroyed. It blows up. Also, before that happened, Joanna right here, she carved out Katniss's tracker. Capitol didn't know where she was at on the map. Peeta was out running around looking for Katniss because he thought that she had died. And at this point, when we come into this story, he still doesn't know if she's alive or not. Keep that in mind. He doesn't know anything about what's happened. It was just a big mess. The whole plan was for the arena to get destroyed. It was supposed to be Beatty that was supposed to do it. Orchestrated, that's a good word, by Plutarch, mostly. He had a plan all along for the quarter quell to just end. It didn't go exactly according to plan, but it happened. BT knew about it. Obviously, Haymitch knew. A lot of people knew about the plan, except for Katniss and Peeta. And so the plan was always to get Katniss, and hopefully Peeta or one of them, to get out of the arena and become the face of the new rebellion. Okay, they got Katniss out, Finnick out, BT out. Everybody else, which was only Inabaria, Joanna, Peeta, got kidnapped by the fucking Capitol. Annie down here got snatched up and sent to the Capitol too. They're on the way to District 13, where we last see Katniss and everybody. Gale is with her, and she's like, aren't you in 12? And he says, there is no more District 12. What the fuck do you mean, Gale? Yeah, it's gone. All right, let's just go. I'm gonna try and get through part 1. Everything recharge, cool down, whatever. We'll do part 2 and then part 3. Yeah, we're gonna do it. Editing me, this is your motivation. Let's do this. Lock in, bitch. Oh my god, I just want it to be done. Part 1 is called The Ashes. Chapter 1. So we're going to pick up about a month after the game. Katniss is visiting her old home of District 12. She's walking through the rubble. It's just her, hovercraft waiting above, watching over her. She's at her old original home, not the Victor's home that she got, but it's all burnt to ash. Everything is destroyed. As soon as she shot the arrow to the sky in the arena, the Capitol sent in fire bombs to District 12 and tried to wipe them all out. They hate her. The last book was that President Snow was trying to get Katniss to decrease the possibility of uprisings and eventually the rebellion. That didn't fucking happen, especially with the arrow, because that was just to the Capitol. Here's to you, Snow. Gale is in that hovercraft that's above her. She was like, I need to be alone when I see it. I don't want anybody around me. She is just angry in this one. Depressed, anxious as hell. Maybe that's why I've been so anxious. I've been reading it through Katniss's eyes. Just frustrated, and she's in the dark too of like, Peeta could probably already be dead. All I know is that the Capitol has him. Although Finnick has tried to reassure her, not gonna kill him. They know that you're gonna come after him. So it's leverage. Also, the effects of a very severe concussion, because in the last one, the whole plan started to go sideways. Joanna hit her upside the head with Beetie's wire coil thing and knocked her out. So she's been dealing with the effects of a concussion after that. Honestly, throughout this whole thing, she's never at 100%. She's operating at maybe like 65 at the best. One of her doctors told her that something she can do is kind of a therapy when things start getting too intense, start seeing visions, obviously has her nightmares. Just start small, but make a list of everything that she knows is real. She starts off with, my name is Katniss. Let me read it for you. And she's 17 years old. Her home is District 12. She won the Hunger Games. She escaped. The Capitol hates her. Peeta has been taken prisoner. He's thought to be dead. So yeah, eventually it kind of spiraled. Starts small with what she knows is true. She says it's kind of like a game. When we get to the very end, the very last line in this book is such a banger. She's walking through the rest of 12. The only thing that survived was the Victor Village. She figures it was only left because if and when the Capitol ever needed to do like a news coverage story or something like that, maybe they could send somebody out there. They'd be able to stay in a decent house. But everywhere else, tarnished, destroyed. The Justice Building is crumbled. The whole town is gone. Peeta's family that owned the bakery, they haven't been heard from at all. They were not accounted for in District 13. Gale explained it to her what had happened. She shot the arrow. The arena blew out. After a couple minutes, the firebomb started coming, and Gale and some of the mine buddies, they got about over 800 people out to the meadow, just anywhere that there wasn't coal dust, because in the last one they blew up the Hob from years and years of coal dust that it just ignited in like a second. It took no time at all to burn it down. Her sister Prim, right here, and her mother were able to help nurse a lot of people back. Well, not back to health, but take care of them while they were out there in the woods. After a couple of days, a hovercraft from 13 came by, scooped everybody up, took them to 13, where people have been living underground for 75 years. They were provided with clothes, boring as and ugly. It's very utilitarian. Is that the right utilitarian? Because that was the old Capitol military base. Everything was housed over in 13. They used to have graphite mining, so that's how they got all the underground shit. Anyway, it's very... they ran that thing like the Navy, but everybody wears the same uniform. Everybody gets a tattoo of their schedule on their arm. There's no waste there. You eat portions depending on your body weight and how much stamina you're going to burn off throughout the day. It's very like strict. Okay, we're going back to, sorry, we got a little distracted, a little sidetracked there, just explaining what's been going on in District 13. Back in 12, she's going down town square center, walking on top of bodies. She's stepping on skulls, and she passes the mayor's house, Madge. All of them have not been heard from. They didn't make it. Look, I'll tell you, they didn't make it. Like I said, she's really in her fucking feels right now. Blames herself completely. If I just did everything like I'm supposed to do, like the Capitol wanted, nobody would be in this situation. They wouldn't have bombed 12, as of right now. But these people would still be alive. I think there was about 10,000 people in 12 altogether. Just over 800 or 900 made it out. They keep pressing on Katniss to become the Mockingjay, to become the face of the rebellion. Plutarch, who is really spearheading this, and then he's got an assistant who is never shown in the movies. Effie's not really in this book. She's in it for maybe a couple of sentences, but in the movie, they really gave Plutarch's assistant, her name is Fulvia Cardew. They gave most of Effie her lines in the movie, so that way they could keep Effie in the movie because a lot of people really liked her. Truthfully, she's not really in the book, hardly at all. movie, Effie takes over the role of Fulvia's position, really. But they keep telling Katniss, hey, can you go ahead and be the face of our rebellion, please? There's some other district leaders there in 13, and specifically the president of District 13, Alma Coin, President Coin. Look at that hair. Look at that hair. Come on, Julianne Moore. She's got a right-hand man. Katniss originally thinks he's more of like a henchman. His name is Boggs. He is very high up in the ranks of the military part. Katniss recalls, now that she's explaining to us, the reader, sitting in some meetings, Plutarch and Fulvia and Coin and all of them are asking her to become the Mockingjay. She doesn't talk. She's mentally just checked out. Sits there and just kind of stares at the wall. She looks at Coin's hair. She said, I was trying to see if her hair was a wig or not. One of the meetings specifically, she remembers walking out and she could hear Coin tell Plutarch, you should have saved the boy. You should have saved Peeta. Like, this is who you want? Katniss, in her mind, she's like, yeah, y'all should have saved Peeta because I am not the one to do this. Peeta has a real knack turning it on. He can talk. He always seems like he knows what to say and he says it right. She's not meant to be the face of any thing. She's a very solitary person. Speedy, he's been a lot more helpful down there. He ended up being put in a wheelchair. He doesn't need it all the time for long distances. He can't keep up his stamina. He was shocked to fucking hell and back. Do you remember that? But he has been spending most of his time cracking to security stuff from the Capitol that he actually set up. There was actually a line in the movie. He said, I think I did my job a little too well. And he also has been working in the weaponry. We'll get to that in a couple of chapters. But he's been busy doing shit. Okay, making moves. And so Katniss doesn't hardly see him anymore. Finnick has been in the hospital, kind of in the same boat as Katniss, but he is really just a lot more zoned out, disassociated. He is almost gone. Thinking about Annie. I wish she would die. I wish I would die. I wish everybody would die. We wouldn't be in this situation. We could go wherever it is we go. And so one of his therapy tactics, got a little short piece of rope that he keeps tying knots with. Keeps him busy. It keeps him distracted. He numbs his pain with pain medicine and sleep and not doing well. Now, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and I hate to tell everybody. In the last one, just as Katniss was going into the games, she was waiting in her pod. Cinna was there with her. Tube isn't moving, and they're both looking at each other like, what's going on? And then 3 peacekeepers come in and beat the fucking shit out of Cinna. And then they drag him away, and she's just left to wonder, what happened to him? Plutarch has told Katniss that he, very good reason to believe, his sources say Cinna was tortured to death in the Capitol, and he is died. When I first read the whole series, Cinna was my #1 favorite. It's in the first chapter. Maybe that's why I don't like this one. Cinna is no longer alive. She makes it back to her home in the Victor's village. She gets a bunch of stuff that was left behind. Her father's hunting jacket, which she put there before the quarter quell. Her mother and Prim could have something of the father there. Got a picture of her mom and dad on their wedding day. The family book of plants that her and Peeta had filled out. And then she hears Prim has got this ugly looking cat. I still haven't printed out a picture of him, but at this point, who cares? And that is Buttercup. Katniss looks at him and she's like, how the f did you make it out of the bombings? How did you last? We thought you died. He must have been living off of mice or just scavenging. And so Katniss scoops him up. Katniss doesn't like the cat. I feel like I need to reiterate it every time. Likes the fact that Prim likes him. It's the only reason she puts up with this furball. She goes upstairs and gets a couple more things from the house. And then all of a sudden, do I sound like a dog? She starts smelling a rose. And she's like, me, that is strong as hell. It's overpowering. The scent is so thick. Into the room where her and President Snow had their meeting. In a vase of dead flowers, 1 white rose is sitting there in the center. And District 13 did a sweep of the whole District 12 to make sure it was safe for her to go see it. And they probably went into her house and saw that it was just a rose. And they're like, okay, who cares? It's just a flower. Well, when she sees it, a nod that Snow is always watching. President Snow wears these genetically mutated roses, put out these intense fumes of roses. Gets back onto the hovercraft. They head back. It's not that far. It says it doesn't take very long in the hovercraft to get back to 13. Well, she was like, Bonnie and Twill, do you remember from last book? They were on their way to District 13. They really were almost there. But when she got there, she kept saying the name Bonnie and Twill, and nobody knew who she was talking about, so she just assumes they didn't make it. Maybe they got caught in the firebombs. I don't know. They were in the woods, so I don't think they would have. I don't know. So anyway, they died. Up above, 13 looks about just as cheerful as District 12 does right now, just without the smoke. It looks like a wasteland. All life in 13 moved underground, already had an underground system built for their military use. In the dark days, 13 had all their nuclear missiles aimed for the capital, who would have been seriously outnumbered when it came to retaliation, and made a deal with them that they would play dead in exchange for being left alone. If you're not catching what I'm saying, 13 made a deal with the Capitol because the Capitol was like, okay, seriously, clearly can just wipe us out. We'll agree to disagree underground. You just leave, get out of sight. We don't have to ever interact. Okay. They destroyed the surface of District 13 and left them alone, and it left everybody else to believe for 75 fucking years that there was no District 13 left. When in reality, they're all underground. Which, to Katniss's point, and she brings it up again in about a chapter or two, you had all of this and you left everybody else that was really hurting and starving, left us to fend for ourselves. You couldn't help out, not once. More on that later. But like I said, they're all given a schedule, but it's important that everybody sticks to their schedule. They like order, a system where they do things, everything goes according to plan. They've been this way for 75 years. Katniss, because she's mentally unstable, kind of leave her alone. She doesn't do much of anything anyway. She spends her days in the hospital. She might go and eat something, and then she goes and finds little cubbies, little pockets where she just goes and hides and maybe takes a nap or finds some pipes, hides in the pipes. Not in the pipes, but she hides behind the pipes. Gale has got something because he's been involved a lot more in command because he proved himself when he got everybody out of District 12. So they gave him something called a communicuff. It's basically just a pager, and he gets a message on the pager saying, hey, we need you and Katniss to get up to command right now. Katniss kind of stays to the back, and she's like, let me try and dip. I don't want to be here. Plutarch is like, hey, why don't we watch this together, okay? Caesar Flickerman, this man right here, comes onto the screen in the Capitol. He starts talking about, what the is going on? Then he introduces Peeta. Peeta's alive, and he looks okay. Wearing a suit, he looks all cleaned up. I mean, he's obviously on edge, a little bit nerved, but for the most part, he looks fine. Caesar and him start talking about Peeta, of knowing about the plan. Peeta's like, we had no fucking clue what was going on. Neither did Katniss. And he's like, okay, it just looks suspicious. I don't know. It just looks like you guys knew what you were doing. That's all I'm saying. How it was clear that Peeta's plan in the Quell was to save Katniss and his unborn child, and he says that other people had their own plans as well. He said, unless you're in the games, you don't get it. You don't know. To be able to kill a person, it takes everything you have inside of you. Until you're there, don't say anything to me. He's only getting one side of the information, the Capitol's version. And of course, they're going to paint the picture to be the rebels are destroying everything. They're trying to kill us all. It's not the right side. It is the right. They're very right wing over at the Capitol. He calls out Haymitch for kind of being a phony. You never talked about wanting to help the rebellion at all. Whenever we brought up things like moving to District 13 or uprisings, whatever, you just kind of dismissed it. So what's up with that? To sidetrack a little bit, Haymitch has not really been seen much in District 13. He is kept under lock and key. They have a strict no alcohol policy. He is going through a serious withdrawal, 20 some years of heavy drinking. He says that him and Katniss, they should have left, parted ways from the group when they had the chance. They'd still be together. Caesar says Katniss's arrow destroyed the arena. It seems like it was her plan all along. It was a plan, but her and Peeta had no fucking clue about it. So Caesar is leading into like, it looks suspicious. It looked like you both knew what was going on. Is there anything you want to say? Katniss is out there listening because Peeta still doesn't know. Katniss could be dead. Peeta says, yes, actually, there is something I want to say. Everybody that wants to start this war and a rebellion, you need to stop. Think about what happened 75 years ago. Look how that turned out. They started a rebellion, it didn't work, and now we were in this whole thing. Do we want that to happen again? I'm calling for a ceasefire. They end the broadcast. Of course, everybody is not happy about that. Everybody listening is like, what the f? And Katniss is just like, tries to leave, but Coin tells her, "You would not dismiss soldier ever need." Do you think she cares? No, she don't. And so she leaves. She can hear something, a little scuffle happen behind her. It was Gale. Pushed his way through Boggs, like punched him or elbowed him in the face. Kaboom! Broke his whatever. And he follows Katniss. She goes to her room with the pipe, she goes to the, it doesn't matter, but she goes to the school supplies thing, because there's a thing where she like knocks over the pencils and she's like picking up shit. Who cares? She goes into one of her hiding spots. Gale finds her. One of the good things about coming to District 13 is that her and Gale's relationship has gotten a little bit stronger. No outside influence from Peeta. She pretty much just chalked it up. He's dead. He's gone. Just until now when she saw him on the TV. I guess you'll do, Hawthorne. Gale tells her that he thinks the ceasefire is actually probably Snow's idea, and they're only just telling Peeta, like I said, one-sided information. Probably only agreeing to say it for Snow in order to keep Katniss safe. She says, we're still in the games, and we need to make our moves count. And she gets up all high and mighty, and he's like, what are you gonna do? And she's like, It's not like this. She does not make it this corny. I'm gonna be the Mockingjay. She can't sleep. Prim, she climbs in bed with her and she's like, what are you thinking about? Just, can you talk to me? We don't talk anymore at all. Also, I should point out, because it's only been a month, Prim is still only 13. She is a young girl. She has proven herself to be wise beyond her years, working with her mother in the hospital. And Katniss just notes that the little girl that she always saw Prim as, from the beginning, when the reaping happened, she was like, this little fragile thing can't do things for herself. The little girl who used to ask me to, get dishes out of the cabinets for her would wear her shirt with a little ducktail sticking out. She's like, that girl's gone. She's so gone. Anyway, I don't know where I went just there. Katniss starts confiding in her. She's afraid if she becomes the Mockingjay, they get Peeta, or they get everybody that was taken by the Capitol. She's afraid that they might execute him just then and there for calling for a ceasefire, betraying everything that the rebellion has just spent all this time doing. And Prim is like, Girl. Do you know how important you are to them? All you have to do is ask. So just ask for them to be safe. And she's like, okay, yeah. So Katniss tells her, you need to do something so they can't back out on. So she says, let's make it a part of my conditions. They're going to announce it live to everybody in 13 stipulations of Katniss being the Mockingjay. She's got a couple of demands. All of the victors that were kidnapped by the Capitol, if and when they are rescued, they're given complete immunity. Gale is her partner in this whole thing. Her and Gale can go hunting. She needs to get up above ground. She's like, I can't stand it being in the ground. I'm going to lose my mind. And she can give the game to the kitchen. She's like, I don't need it. I need to be outside. What else? They get to keep Buttercup. And the number one, she gets to be the one to kill President Snow. She goes up to command. She tells it to Plutarch and Coin. She starts off with a cat. She's like, can we keep that cat? They're like, fine. And whatever. So they are going to move the Everdeens up to a higher floor. So it has a little tiny window. So you could open the window, let the cat out. If it's not back by curfew, it stays outside. And if it's interfering with anything, we will shoot it. And Katniss is like, word. That's about the same as it was in 12. Coin lets her and Gale go out hunting for 2 hours a day. Be given a communicuff. Oh, that was something. Back in chapter whatever, when Gale hit Boggs in the face, he got his communicuff taken away. Does anybody care? Katniss asks for Gale to be by her side through the whole Mockingjay extravaganza. They have to work it into the storyline. All right, we'll just keep saying that he's your cousin, though, because we really cannot compromise you and Peeta's love story. We're also going to have to write in that you lost the baby. Remember, Katniss was supposed to be pregnant. She wasn't ever pregnant. We'll just tell everybody you lost the baby in the shock when you shocked the arena. The big question about giving immunity. Coin immediately is like, no. That. Nope, it's up for the tribunal to decide. And I can guarantee you they're not gonna like it. This is the first time we see any kind of passion come out of Katniss. You are gonna grant immunity. You're gonna give me everything that I've asked for. I don't think it's that much, the grand scheme of it all. And also, hey, you're gonna announce this to everybody in 13. That way you can't back out of it. Or find yourself a new Mockingjay. Bitch. Her and Coin, they are not BFFs. She kind of snaps. Fulvia is like, oh, there she is. That's the Mockingjay. That's the one we want right there. They convince Coin, fine. Is there anything else you want? And then Katniss says, actually, yes, when it comes time to it, I want to kill Snow. And Coin kind of gives her a smile like, I'll tell you what, when the time comes, I'll flip you for it. So Coin leaves. Fulvia and Plutarch, they talk about how they've missed coffee so much. Even in the worse off districts. Is that how you would say that? Worser off? That worser is not a word. Not as well off districts. Like 12, even there they would have things like coffee, and they're like, how am I gonna do this without coffee? They complain about how 13 is so stingy with everything. We can't even get a fucking cup of joe. Damn. Plutarch gives Katniss a sketchbook from Cinna. And Cinna had already been designing outfits and suits for her Mockingjay costume to be wearing. Told Plutarch, do not give this to Katniss unless she agrees to be the Mockingjay. He's designed basically this. Little tiny pockets and cavities for weapons, small weapons, protection over her vital organs, hood that will come up and protect the back of her head. He thought of everything. This shit is swanky. How they're gonna go about doing this? They're gonna film these things called propos. The whole time I was reading it, I wanted to call them propos. They're pronounced propos, short for propaganda spots. And they just want to make these little junket, basically like, I don't know if anybody else has been watching YouTube ads, but governor ads that keep running all the time. I'm so sick of seeing this shit. Basically like a campaign run. They're gonna do an airtime strike where they're just gonna bombard the nation. Different types of propos out in the field. Katniss looking at this. Katniss doing this. Beatty, he's cracking the system here. Short while, whatever he does. He just does some thingies on the computer and he's able to put the propos out for all the districts. You see, they're gonna start with all of the districts and then get to the capital. Most of them have already joined the rebellion. One really big one we need to worry about is District 2. District 2 is a hard nut to crack. Fulvia tells her that we need to redo your look again. They say they need to give her a more intense look. Where's my phone? Oh my god. My mom is chronically on Instagram. Hey mom, if you're listening, you can send me Instagram DMs. She always sends Instagram stories, but then she'll send it in our message thread. Just send it on the app. Anyway, I love you. Whatever. Where was I? Makeup needs to be darker, it's sharper, and just Black Swan. She tells her there's a surprise waiting for her. They all go down, way down deep into the tunnels. Guards that are standing guard, and they're like,
what are you doing down here?
Katniss gets by them, opens up the door. Her whole prep team, minus Cinna. Vinia, Flavius, and Octavia, where'd you go? Did I throw? Oh, she's right here. They're in a room chained up, looking scared as hell. She says they look almost unrecognizable. And if it weren't for like their distinct features, like Vinia has the gold tattoos, Flavius has orange hair, and Octavia's got that green, sickly looking skin. Said if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't even know who they were. Scared, they're cowering in fear. They're being punished because they tried to steal some bread. Thievery will not be tolerated in District 13. Especially hoarding food. They are not allowed to share food. Like even the cafeteria, you're not allowed to take food out of the cafeteria. No, not allowed. Plutarch lets her know that Cinna had requested that the prep team get saved and taken to 13 to get them to the hospital. Her mom is looking after all of them. Her mom has been welcomed into the hospital as more of a nurse. She hasn't been accepted as like a full doctor, even though she can work circles around some of these people. Her mom looks really shocked because she's like, well, I was used to seeing corporal punishment in 12. I don't know what was happening here in 13. Yes, ma'am. Katniss, Gale, Plutarch, and Folio go outside. And Katniss is like, I see where we stand. We see who has the upper hand here. Coin. Katniss tells them that punishing the prep team was a warning. These people didn't do anything. They just happened to be from the Capitol. Plutarch and Fulvia, if you've been involved with the Capitol at all, watch your back. Showing any capital prejudice might not be the smart thing to do and can result in punishment. So like even when they were talking about having coffee, you better watch yourself. Coin might be listening. Fulvia does not get along with Katniss at all. She's very hoity-toity, I'm better than you, who do you think you are kind of that attitude. She tells Katniss, Plutarch was the one that organized this whole thing to get you out of the arena. I think it's clear where his allegiance lies. Katniss is like, you know what, Fulvia? The prep team can always hope to go back to the Capitol and resume their lives. Me and Gale, we can survive in the woods. What are you and Plutarch gonna do? You cannot go back to being head game maker after this. You're not allowed back in. Fulvia, who are you? This is really the only place you have to be is 13. Mom comes out, tells everybody that the prep team's gonna be fine. Gonna be emotionally a little racked. Just go easy on them. Her and Gale go outside, they go hunting, and they realize that the animals around there have never been hunted before. They don't need to fear humans. Before they head back, Gale is asking Katniss why she was so upset that the prep team was chained up and treated that way. Why was it bothering her so much? And Katniss is like, can't really form a thought that Gale would understand. To her, it seems obvious. They never did anything to me. I actually really liked having the prep team around. They were always a calming presence to just sit and listen to them. She didn't have to try give her 2 cents about anything. It just was easy to be around them and felt comfortable. That's one of the reasons. Also, Cinna was the one that wanted them with her. He tells Katniss that maybe Coin thought she was doing Katniss a favor imprisoning them because she probably thought that Katniss would view them as the enemy, as being from the Capitol and getting her ready like a pig for slaughter. Katniss tells Peeta, nope. Katniss tells Gale their last day together, the prep team was so distraught that they were emotionally attached to Katniss and Peeta too, and it was really racking their nerves. Octavia, Flavius, they had to excuse themselves, whatever. And so she's telling that to Gale, and Gale's like, okay, drop off their game to Greasy Say. Greasy Say did make it to District 13, and she's been working in the kitchen there. She's like, the flavor here is non-existent. This is just dirt. Prim tells her that they have their mandatory meeting tonight. Go into this big giant room called the Collective. It's basically an auditorium. Everybody's there. She's dressed in a nice prison gray. Finnick is there. Katniss goes up to him and she's like, hey, I asked for immunity for everybody, all the victors and stuff like that. So that's what this whole thing is about, because Finnick is just spaced out. Coin goes up, addresses everybody. She lifts off all the things that Katniss has said that she wants. Clearly the immunity ask does not go over well. People are like, what? That's fucking stupid. They need to be hanged by their toes. No, they don't say that. They're not happy with the thought of rescuing them and then bringing them back and they're just fine. Like nothing happens. They don't see the ins and outs. They don't know Peeta. They don't know you like I know you. They all knew Katniss would agree to be the Mockingjay eventually. And now it just seems a little strange that now she's listing off all these demands. Who do you think you are? And Coin got her own little stipulation that she didn't tell Katniss about. She says if Katniss does not fulfill her duties as the Mockingjay or decides to go rogue and just peace out, she and the others stuck in the Capitol will have the same fate decided for them by the law of 13. Katniss, you better buckle down. Don't you dare do anything stupid. This is another way that she's being used as a piece in somebody else's game. Katniss, you need to write your own rules. She says Coin is the first person, though, to make Katniss seem like a threat. Prep team gets a little bit rehabilitated slightly, and they're able to work on Katniss's new look. They dress up some of her scarring. The scar that was left from Joanna when she carved out the tracker jacket, not the tracker jacket, whoa, the tracker. It left a really ugly looking scar, like the size of an apple. Make up her body to make it look like it's not all that damaged. She brings the prep team into lunchroom with everybody, and all of the people there in 13 are like gawking at them. They look very out of place. That she invites them to sit with her and her sister and Gale and the Hawthorns and all that. Gale's sister starts talking to Octavia, and she's like, why is your skin green?
Oh my God, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white.
It's supposed to be pretty. Posey, that's Gale's sister. I think you'd look pretty in any color, and that just makes her day. Gale kind of tries. He doesn't even acknowledge what him and Katniss had just talked about when they were out hunting. Glazes over, saying like, oh, how's the makeover going? And Katniss is like, boy, I know you don't give a damn. But she thinks that this is him trying to smooth things over and just move on. It's after lunch. He's walking with her back to wherever the hell. Gale told Katniss that she gave Coin no choice and backed her into a corner with those demands. He told her Coin is running 13 and it looks bad if she bends under Katniss's will. Our president just starts submitting to this girly here. This mentally disoriented 17-year-old girl. What does that look like? Given immunity to Victor, probably under mental distress. And when they come back, who knows what they're going to do? And they could probably just come in here guns blazing. Katniss gets annoyed and she's like, should we just have left them to fend for themselves? She doesn't even give him time to answer, slams the door in his face. Eventually she gets called down to the weaponry with Gale. They're going down to meet up with Beetee, and on the way down, Gale is like, are you still mad at me? And she's like, mm-hmm. And he's like, well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna make up a story and say I agree with you, because I don't. And she's like, well, I'm not asking you to lie. I'm just asking you to change your opinion. You're entitled to your wrong opinion. That's fine. Then she says, like, you know what? That is one aspect of Gale that I do appreciate, that he isn't gonna lie to me. They go down to special defense, where Beetee has been at pretty much forever and always since he's been here. Sitting over at like a little piece of greenery, and inside of it they have hummingbirds. And he asks Katniss, would you be able to shoot a hummingbird? And she's like, I don't know, I've never tried. They don't really have a lot of meat on them, so I've never put much thought into it. That's something about you. You don't hunt for sport. You're not hunting just to kill something, only when it's useful. Then Gale tells him, you might be able to catch them all if you build a snare out of mesh. This is where the seed gets planted of snares and traps. Oh God, oh Lord. You can build a mesh snare and fill it with nectar and trap them and then capture them that way. Beetee, how he won his game, he basically did something kind of like that. He had a piece of wire. All the tributes that were left, he electrocuted them and they died and he won. Kind of another snare. Beetee tells Gale, if you're going to be next to Katniss during these propos, you're going to have to be armed. You can't just go out there like crossbow. It's got a lot more bells and whistles on it. A scope. Crossbows, I feel like you don't have to do much to. What do I know? I don't know anything about crossbows. But she says something, the scope you have on it, that doesn't seem fair when you go out and kill a deer. And he's like, I wouldn't use it for a deer. Gale? And she's like, you think it's that easy to just kill a person? He's like, I didn't say that. You did. But if I did have a weapon to stop you going into the games, to stop those fire bombs from falling, yeah, I probably would have used it on somebody. It meant that none of that shit would have happened. Yeah, I think I would use it. Oh, God damn it. She agrees with him, but also is like, you know, when you take a person's life, she doesn't say this to him in her head. When you take a person's life, it never leaves you. She thinks about nearly everybody that she's ever encountered that she's killed, has been killed in front of her, collateral damage, whatever. They all live in the forefront of her mind. Beetee comes out, he shows her her new bow. It's very sleek. He says that Plutarch wanted a weapon design would look more appealing on camera. On the inside, it was all left up to Beetee. When she picks it up, she's like, what the f***? It's vibrating. And he's like, well, yeah, it's saying hello to you. It recognizes your voice. And when you're ready to want to lock it up, just whisper good night to it and it'll shut off. And then he gives her new arrows, 3 different types. There's a normal one, there's fire, and there's explosive. So then they put her on a little sound stage to start filming these propos in front of a green screen. They spend a lot of time just getting her makeup done up. In the movie, it's, what's her face? Effie that tells her this, but in the book, Finnick comes up to her and he's like, you know what? People are either going to want to kill you, kiss you, or be you. She does a propo. She watches a little mock-up and she's like, I did not recognize myself on the screen at all. That person looks way more stronger than me. Looks a lot more intense. I don't believe it though. I don't believe what I'm saying. It just doesn't, it's not working. Okay, just go back up there and try one more line for us. Let me make sure I'm saying it right. People of Pan Am, we fight, we dare, we end our hunger for justice.
You've just been in battle! I'm sorry. Excuse my outburst.
It's corny. There's quiet. Nobody's saying anything. And we just hear a laughter over a microphone. That's what I figured it would sound like. It's Haymitch. He has come up from his bunker and he's like, ladies and gentlemen, that is how a revolution dies. Haymitch, you're such a goober. I love him. I think I might actually take a break because my microphone is acting up. Things charge. I might pick this up later today. It might be tomorrow. It might be not tomorrow. But I'll see you when I see you. All right, give me a second. Well, it's the big show. Sorry, I had to take a break. I could feel the anxiety. Maybe I'm not over it. This is a very anxious video. I just had to take a minute. And by a minute, I mean a whole day. Also, I did just wash my hair, so if my hair looks wet, shut up. You're seeing things. Let's get back into it. Enough horsing around. Haymitch has come back into the picture and tells them, oh, this is not going good. It's just so mechanical. It's rigid. Katniss feels uncomfortable. She doesn't feel motivated by anything. Anyway, so Haymitch is like, let's all get together. Calls a meeting. Obviously Katniss, Coin, Boggs, Plutarch, Fulvia, the prep team, Finnick and Beatty, and also that man Dalton from District 10. A couple people from 12, like Greasy Say is in there. And another girl named Levy. I actually did talk about her in the last one, but I cut it out. Levy is one of Katniss and Peeta's and Gale's schoolmate. She was in Catching Fire when Gale got whipped to hell and back. She was helping get him to Katniss's house. It didn't mean too much to the story, so I didn't keep it. But anyway, she's there if you care. Haymitch has called the meeting. He is like, look y'all, it ain't working. This Mockingjay crap propo thing you're trying to put together, it is stale. Nobody's gonna be motivated to do anything watching this. Think of things that Katniss has done since we've all known her throughout the years. How long has it been at this point? Maybe like a year and a half? No. Just over a year, because obviously from the beginning of the first Hunger Games that we met her in to the end of this last one, and then plus a month. So yeah, we're just over a year. Whatever. Hannah, reel it in, bitch. Throughout the year that we've known her, that made you feel something, that made you feel like, yes, yes, Katniss, yes. Levy, she speaks up. It was a really special moment when Katniss volunteered for Prim. We all were really moved by that. Haymitch is like, correct. Correct. Boggs, he says, you know, I really appreciate when she sang that song for Rue. We don't really get too much of a backstory on Boggs, but I always assumed that he had come from another district and found his way to 13. I don't think he was, I almost said created. I don't think he was born there. I'm assuming that he was from District 11. I don't know. Where do you think he's from? I don't think he's from 13 originally. OG, I don't think so. When she was taking care of Peeta in the cave, and when she got the medicine for him, like when she held hands with Chaff at the previous quarter quell, and they all held hands and raised him up. The biggest moment of all, when her and Peeta were gonna eat the berries. Haymitch is like, okay, so what do all these things have in common? And Gale says, well, nobody told her to do them. That's just what she thought of doing in the moment. Nobody had to tell her what to do. Ding, 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 Gale, you are correct. Haymitch is like, that's it. But Fulvia is quick to point out, yeah, well, you know, unscripted moments and moments of inspiration down here in 13 are few and far between. And by few, I mean zero. I don't know. There's nothing going on down here. So Haymitch proposes the idea, put her out there and let her see what's going on. And at first Coin is like, no. Well, what happens if you get killed out in combat or on the ground? What if you die? And she slay. First of all, we'll get it on camera. Okay, Katniss. Okay. But then she says, okay, fine. Send her to the least threatening place right now, which would be District 8. They did just have a bombing though. She's like the least threatening. They just got bombed. Once they are out there in the field, they're going to film her, get her reaction to the war. And then they say, well, we got to write in, mention it somehow that she's lost the baby. Just say she lost it in the shock when she shot the arrow. Oh, also Dalton there that's in the meeting. He says to wipe off all that makeup that she's got on because he says she looks 35 and she's only 17. And Fulvia takes offense to this. She's like, bitch. Fulvia was the one that kind of proposed getting her all done up, working from the outside in, that kind of thing. When it's not translating how she wants, it stings. Wipe all the makeup off because that's something that the Capitol would do. Make her up, do her up, and all that stuff. Haymitch says that he'll be in the hovercraft watching from above. And you know what? The whole time they're having this meeting, her and Haymitch, well, she doesn't even look at Haymitch. She looks at the reflection in the window of Haymitch and she says he looks sick. Not sick like, but sick like, he's very yellow, jaundiced. The meeting is adjourned. Everybody leaves except Katniss and Haymitch, sitting in an awkward silence, and Haymitch just says, just say what you want to say. And Katniss says, I just can't believe you didn't save Peeta, because that's the one fucking thing I asked. The one deal we made, you agreed to it, and you didn't do it to save Peeta. And he's like, well, you didn't either. It's a two-way street, baby. It goes both ways, Katniss. He says that he can't believe that she let him get separated from her in the arena, too. But she's like, you don't think I've been fucking thinking about that ever since I came back? All I think about. And it's driving me bonkers. I'm plummeting as we speak. Haymitch says that there was just no way for them to get to Peeta afterwards. They couldn't stick around and search for him. The plan would have just gone to shit So they had to get out. Get in, get out. Grab them, scoop them up, and get out. She goes and gets suited up for combat. Cinna actually designed for her. It's got like a hood, some kind of material, and it can protect her back. Shield over her vital organs. And then we've got a little tiny pouch up here at the top on her left shoulder, the size for a pill. And they've made these little pills called nightlock pills. The car's revving up. It's 8 o'clock. They should be starting. Obviously inspired by the nightlock berries that her and Peeta used in the games, they've turned it into pill form. If you're captured, if the mission is compromised, last resort, it's right here. That way, if she gets handcuffed, if her hands are tied behind her back, she could bite down onto that little pouch, get the nightlock berry, and be gone. She's got a gas mask on her just in case. I think it's called a sheath where your arrows go, divided up in 3 sections because remember she's got the 3 different types of arrows. When they're ready to go, Finnick runs out and he's like, they're not letting me go. He's very upset and she's like, oh, no, I really don't think, well, she doesn't say this to him, but she's like, I really don't think you should go. I don't think you're mentally ready for this. And she says, oh, I forgot to tell you, Beatty's got a trident for you in the weaponry. Special defense. You need to go down and learn it. Kinds of bells and whistles to it. Learn that and you'll be able to come on the next mission. He's like, oh, okay. Boggs is taking her for the hovercraft that's going to take him out to 8. And while they're going through District 13, going down through so many levels, it's huge. Elevators like going side to side. You guys had all this and you never came to help any of us. What up with that? And he's like, well, it's not that simple. We weren't really prepared to take on more people at all until just recently. We had hovercrafts and we had special machinery, but nobody knew how to operate them. We were all learning this on the fly. We're just kind of learning as we go. Even after 75 years, I find that kind of hard to believe. But whatever, nobody asked my opinion. Also, if they began an attack on the Capitol and launched their nuclear missiles, would there still be life left? And Katniss is like, you know, that's really fucking funny you say that, because isn't that what Peeta just said? Everybody wants him dead for saying ceasefire. That's really interesting. Peeta called for a ceasefire and neither side has launched an attack. In the hovercraft, they're being sent. They're being sent out to District 8. Plutarch kind of goes into what their plan is to take over all of the districts first. We'll worry about the capital in phase 2. Take care of all the districts first, get them on our side. And the only one that's going to be tough to do is District 2. That is the capital's BFF. That's where peacekeeper training is at. Let me tell you about the peacekeepers here for a second. Once District 13 and the capital had made their deal, then District 2 became base of operations for the military. Even in the 75 years since, it's nowhere near what 13 was. I don't know if you remember me telling you in the first one, it was known for the stone quarries. They got caves in there in the mountains. I think they would be located, well, if the capital's in the Rocky Mountains, I am geographically challenged. Let me not get into that. I don't know. Home for the nation's stone quarries like 13 was for graphite mining, a front for what really goes on, peacekeeper training. And supplies. Katniss always assumed that the peacekeepers just came straight from the capital. A lot of them come from the capital because they're paying off debts. But they get sent to 2, get trained, and then they're sent out all over Pan Am. Tie up loose ends. You know what? Maybe they had a dirty past or what? They want that scrubbed off of their permanent record. When you become a peacekeeper, you are locked in for 20 years. No marriage, no kids. A lot of capital citizens become swamped with debt to become a peacekeeper to scrub all the debt away. Or whatever it may be. Come back for the next one. Oh my god, someone that we know has been a peacekeeper in their lifetime. The people in 2 are all raised with a warrior complex. We know that's true from when we met Cato and Clove. These 2 right here, designed to kill. They're the careers. People from District 1, 2, and 4, that's 4, considered careers by the rest of the districts. And they think of it as a privilege, positive thing to go into the games. So they're trained in special academies. They really hone in on weaponry. It's like American Ninja Warrior. Katniss begins to ask, who the hell is going to be in charge once all this is said and done? Once we take the capital, who the hell wants to be in charge? Plutarch says, we're going to try it like how our ancestors did hundreds of years ago for their time. Each district is going to be more of like a republic, and they're going to, like what we have now, in America at least. Every district will elect their own representatives to act as the voice. He says it worked back in the day for the ancestors, which is us now. It must be a pretty decent system. But then Katniss, but in her mind, she was like, yeah, look at what the happened. The dark days, damn it. They didn't seem to really care how they were going to leave the planet. Didn't think about the generations to come after them. I'm trying to reduce my carbon footprint. I'm sorry. I'm just one person. And then she asked, what's going to happen if we lose this whole thing? And Plutarch says, well, then the next Hunger Games is going to be one to remember. Can you imagine? This is where we're going to meet the camera crew that's going to be following Katniss for the rest of this whole story. We've got the leader of this rat pack. Name is Cressida. Fun fact, I used to have this haircut. Maybe not as dramatic as hers, and hers is a lot more polished and put together. but I used to shave the side of my head. And let me tell you, that is so hard to grow out. I encourage everybody to try it once in your life. Just shave your head. But it is hell to grow it out. Whatever, that's not the point. Producer, I guess, the director, the whole camera crew, her assistant, Masala. Truthfully, I don't know what the hell he really does. He's more important once we get to part 3 of this story. Caster, who's a camera man, his brother Pollux, and he is an Avox. We come to find out Katniss is like, maybe he's just shy, but no, he's got his tongue cut out. We're brothers. At first, Katniss calls them insects. Camera bags are in like a beetle shell or something. We put everybody on the bold. This is our camera crew over here. They go through District 8. Looks not good. A lot of abandoned warehouses. People are lying on the streets hurt. They just had a bombing that morning. They meet up with this one lady. Her name is Commander Paler. Come on now, hurry up. Commander Paler Swift. They say that they're here to film their propos and see what the is going on. And she's like, well, come on in. Let's go to the hospital and check it out. The dead are lined up right outside the walls. We have a mass grave dug, but we don't have enough manpower to spare to take all the bodies out there. And Gale says something like, it's not good to have your infected so close to the people that are fine. Don't you think there should be separate quarters for them? She doesn't think it's a good idea, but it's the only option they would have other than to leave them out on the streets. Paler was like, we weren't sure if you were even alive. The last we saw you was in the arena. We didn't even know if you lived. Boggs answered, suffered a severe concussion and she lost her baby too. Let's get that rumor mill started. They head into the hospital wing where the living are still there, wounded and infected. He tells Gale, do not leave my fucking side. She really doesn't want to be there because remember, all the way from the beginning, Katniss she's not a healer. She's not like her mom or Prim. She doesn't feel comfortable at all in situations like this. But normally she would up and run. Commander Paler is actually watching her like, see if, can you handle this? Can you actually be the Mockingjay? Missing limbs, there's people, like flies are swarming everywhere. Tells Boggs, she's like, I don't think I can film in here. I can't give you what you want. And Boggs says, just walk through and let them see your face. At least see you're alive. People are stacked up on top of each other. The smell is ripe, disgusting. A little girl comes up and is like, Katniss? Can you imagine if what if you just saw like a major celebrity right in front of you and you're just like, what the fuck? What are you doing here? She's like, oh, I came to see you guys. It's a Make-A-Wish visit. Everybody starts to look at her and they're like, oh, the Mockingjay. She just makes her way around the whole scene and they're grabbing onto her. They're thanking her. She's smiling. Thank you. They tell her, we don't think Peeta's really talking for himself. We think the Capitol's feeding him lines. And she's like, correct. They think he's been compromised. She lets everybody know, I lost the baby. She's like, I almost said something about it wasn't even a real thing. It was for the show. Then she said, I don't think it's a good idea to paint Peeta as a liar because Peeta was the one that created that storyline. A good idea right now to put him in that position of being a fibber. I wrote, she gives one last goodbye and leaves, understanding now she holds quite a bit of power, more than she realized, but Snow realized it with the berries. Plutarch realized it when she blew up the arena, and now Coin realizes it by taking on the Mockingjay role and making demands. So they go outside. She can breathe. Cressida's like, got a lot of great footage in there. And Gale says, I'm really surprised that you didn't even run away from all that. Boggs, all of a sudden, gets a message in his earpiece. Incoming bombers. They were like, this was not on the clearance. We did not know this was happening. There's no way to get to the hovercraft right now. There's no way for them to land. So just as he says that, boom, 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 bombs are dropping. A CM Punk pipe bomb. She gets blown off her feet. She starts to feel pain in her knees and like adrenaline kicks in. And she hasn't been getting messages from Haymitch the whole time. But then he starts to come in and he's like, hey, bitch, just hang on a second. We're going to guide you down the road of warehouses so we can get to a spot where we can pick you all up in the hovercraft. Another thing of bombs keeps coming by as her and Gale get knocked off their feet again. And at first, Katniss is like, maybe this is happening because they saw her face on security cameras. Word got out that she was in District 8. But they're not targeting Katniss. They're going to the hospital. Katniss and Gale, they realize this at the same time and they're like, oh shit. They take off running. Ooh, that's not a part of the mission, soldiers. Haymitch is yelling at them to go back to the hovercraft. She rips out that earpiece. She's like, shut the hell up. They run up to the rooftop. Katniss says, I could hear Gale hit somebody in the face with his boot, and I'm assuming it was Boggs. He did, because Boggs was chasing after him to get him back onto the hovercraft. Kicks him in the face, breaks his nose. They join Commander Paler, soldiers there from District 8. There's machine guns up there. They start shooting at the hovercraft. The hovercrafts have invisible shields, hover ships. They're actually not hovercrafts, they're hover ships. Easy for you to say. I'm assuming hovercrafts are the big, giant, massive, huge ones that District 13 has. And because District 2 is not up to snuff like District 13 is, they're just smaller. Paler says that they have to drop their invisible shield when they drop their bombs. And that's the only time that they're able to obviously see them in the sky. So that's when they start firing. All the hover ships are flying in a V formation. Katniss and Gale are like geese. Geese, bitch. They treat it like when they go out to the woods and hunt geese, formed in a V, and Katniss shoots at one side, Gale shoots at the other, they meet up in the middle, and they usually trade off who gets the point. At first they try their fire arrows, but it does little to no damage, and so Gale is like, I think we just might as well use the explosive ones. They tried not to use them because they didn't want things crashing into warehouses or potentially hurting people down on the ground. They get a couple of them. Bop, bop, bop. They said they were expecting 3 rounds of this, 3 more extra rounds of bombers. Unfortunately, the next wave comes in and they head directly for the hospital, and that's where they drop their bombs. The whole hospital is destroyed. Everybody inside of it is dead. Women, men, children, everybody is gone. People that came from 13, actually, like medics that came to help out District 8 while they were there too, they're dead. She turns around and she sees the camera crew was up there filming her and Gale, so they got some good action shots. And later on she says if they were in the game, she would pick them as her allies because they weren't afraid to join them. She was like, they just didn't even question it. I can trust them. They form a really good relationship with the camera crew. Walking through the rubble, hospital is burning to a crisp. Whoa, that was a curly R on my part. Crisp. She asks Gale why would they go after people like that who clearly pose no kind of a threat. He tells her they probably did it to scare people. They're collateral. They're all sick. They're weak. Who cares? It's going to show everybody else. We will do it. We will bomb you if you don't straighten up, act accordingly, follow us, the Capitol. Katniss is overwhelmed. She starts crying, and Cressida is like, Katniss, what are you seeing right now? Your raw, real reaction. Let me tell you, this chapter ends with my favorite line, maybe not my favorite, one of my favorite lines of the whole series. This speech that Katniss gives. Okay, let me just read it. Cressida tells her that the live feed of the bombings is just aired. That's from the Capitol News, not from the Rebels News. Katniss turns to the camera. She wants the Rebels to know that she's alive and she's in District 8, where they just bombed a hospital full of innocent men, women, and children. This is what they do. If you think they're trying to save you, you're lying to yourself if you think the Capitol will treat anyone fairly if there's a ceasefire. She says she has a message for President Snow. Oh my God, listen to this. You can torture us, you can bomb us, and you can burn our districts to the ground. But do you see this? Fire is catching. And if we burn, you burn with us. Suzanne Collins, I know her pussy was wet after she gave herself the biggest pat on the back, had the tallest glass of wine after that chapter. If we burn, you burn with us. Yep, agreed. Chapter 8. Let's get through this. Come on. Boggs is like, okay, enough of this shit. Let's get back. I told you we need to go. Adrenaline wears off. Katniss can't walk. She ends up having a piece of shrapnel in the back of her leg. Boggs picks her up, carries her, throws up on him. She's still suffering from that concussion. She passes out. She wakes up to her mother, who is very upset. Nobody even told me you were going to 8. I just found out because I saw the live feed of the bombings. Nobody even bothered to tell me. And she's like, oh shit, yeah, you're right, I'm sorry. Next time something like this comes up, I'll have them confirm it with you. She's like, Katniss, nobody confirms anything with me. They don't care what I think. Well, I'll have somebody mention it to you, let you know, or I'll come and tell you myself. This poor woman. You know what? Who do I feel bad for more? This woman cannot take much more heartbreak. Her nerves have got to be just shot. Katniss is like, you did have to see me go off to 2 different Hunger Games and never knew if I was gonna come back. Maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. Point taken. Gets wheeled into command. She thinks that she's gonna get chewed out by Coin or whoever. She and Gale disobeyed orders when they were told, get back to the hovercraft. And they were like, no thanks. I'm gonna go save District 8. They're there to watch the propo that they filmed. Boggs now has a mask over his face. Because remember, Gale stomped on his face and broke his nose. Imogen just sitting in there, burning a hole in her, just staring her down. Fulvia looks very ticked. She looks annoyed. Gale is off talking to Coin. And they look like they're pretty darn chipper. They're cutting up a little bit. He comes over and sits next to Katniss and she's like, new best friend? He's like, you know what? At least one of us is in good graces with the president. I think one of us needs to stay on her good side. Everybody comes in there, they watch the propo, they say it was already been played like 17 times. Beatty was able to crack the system, feed it into all the districts, cut up scenes of Katniss going to see everybody in the hospital. They show her shooting down some of the hover ships, her big message at the end. Everybody loves it. They eat it up. And so they didn't watch it again. All right, let's just try it again, you bunch of bastards.
Let's just try it again, you bunch of bastards.
Katniss is asking if anybody in the Capitol has seen it. Plutarch says no, but Beatty is working on it. They did get to play it in District 2, and right now that might be better than them getting into the Capitol. Like I said, let's just worry about the districts for right now, and then we'll tackle the Capitol. Oh, also, when it first starts off, Claudius Templesmith, do you remember him? He was the announcer for the Hunger Games. His voice can be heard playing over the tape, and it says, Katniss Everdeen, the girl who was on fire, burns alive. What does he say? Burns alive. The girl who was on fire, burns burns on, is Claudius Templesmith on our side? And Plutarch is like, no, had said it once in your games, and so we just used his voiceover. I'm not sure if laws apply, copyright. Look, I cut my bangs, and this one piece does not. I shouldn't have done this. Everybody praises the camera crew. Cressida, she says, well, yeah, it was a group effort for new ideas of other propos that we can do. Katniss going back to District 12, her going out into battle. Also, Fulvia. Yeah, she throws in her name. Fulvia's got a really good idea. Making pieces about past victors and call it like Remember the Fallen or some shit like that. Making pieces on past tributes called We Remember, a tribute for a tribute, and have Finnick narrate it. Give him something to do, my god. Katniss is like, you know what, Fulvia, that's actually a really good idea. And Fulvia's like, what, really? Meeting is over. Katniss goes back to her room. She falls asleep and then wakes up. Hey, Mitch. Ow! He is just lingering over her like, bitch, when I tell you to wear a earpiece, you wear the earpiece, okay? I will have this surgically implanted in your cranium. You can hear me 24/7 if you take this out again. You hear me? Am I coming in loud and clear? He threatens to put like, she calls it a head shackle, and like lock it onto her head when she goes out into combat. He's like, I will have the key. But if you somehow manage to get out of that, then we will surgically implant a microchip into your brain, and you will hear me 24/7. Which do you prefer? Keep the earpiece in, damn it. Also, I ate your lunch. Okay, bye. I don't know if I mentioned, she's not in her room. She's in the hospital. Finnick is still in there, taking up permanent resident in the hospital. Both of them are eating dinner, and they're watching the propos play out on the TV again. Well, Finnick is going up to turn off the TV, and Katniss is like, wait! Caesar Flickerman comes up on the TV, and he introduces Peeta again. And Peeta looks horrible. He looks awful. Emaciated. He looks like he has not slept. He's fidgety. He keeps shaking. His eyes are just like bugging out of his head. He looks horrid. Katniss is confused, and then she thinks, well, you know what? Other interview that I watched, maybe they filmed that as soon as they got Peeta from the arena, and it's been weeks now. It's been over a month. This is him now. What are they doing to him? So he has seen her propo of her going out into District 8, and Caesar is like, how do you feel about that? And how did you feel about that? Peeta says that they look like they're just using Katniss just to rile up the districts. She probably has no idea what kind of war is actually going on out there. Then he looks at the camera and is talking directly to Katniss. Now let me just read off what he says. He asks her to use her power to stop everything, and then questions if she can really trust who she's working with. Do you know these people at all, Katniss? The psychological warfare, my god. Do you really know who you're working with? And if not, you need to find out. Broadcast ends. Finnick turns the TV off, and he's like, that didn't happen. You didn't see anything. Shut the up. Don't let them know that you saw him. People are running down the hallway because they want to get to Katniss to make sure she's okay. They come in there and she's just like, good job on the propo, guys. We couldn't watch all of it. It was just a little bit too much for us, so we turned it off early. And they're like, oh, whew. Nobody mentions Peeta. They don't say, hey, well, just so you know, there was a message from Peeta tonight. That nobody breaks it to her. They're just like, oh, okay, yeah, well, you have a good night. Next morning, Gale is off doing something. Most of his time is spent with Beetee in special defense. Katniss takes Finnick out to the woods for them to go hunting. And that's where they can really talk about, what the f did we just watch? Finnick says that he hasn't heard anybody mention Peeta at all. Katniss says, yeah, Gale never said anything to me. She's like, I feel like Gale, of all people, my best friend, would say something. Maybe they didn't see it, which, who are you kidding? When they go back in, Gale is there and he takes her back home. Whoa, he takes her to her room or to the hospital, wherever the fuck. Any news from command? And he's like, no. And Katniss is like, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So she sits in her room brainstorming. She's like, obviously they're torturing him. They're torturing him for information he doesn't have. We didn't know anything. And she starts to suspect, well, Snow must know by now. He doesn't know anything. But again, leverage. He knows that Katniss will come for him. She worries that Peeta probably feels abandoned by Katniss because now he knows that she's alive. He must feel like, well, damn, she's not even coming to get me. Breakfast the next morning, she sees that Gale has got a new communicuff. You remember he lost it when he stormed out of their first meeting? Well, now he's got it back. And Katniss is like, oh, is that from your new BFF coin? Must be nice to be in the good graces, as you say. Well, yeah, we all thought if I was out in the field with you, it probably would be smart for me to have it. Okay, point taken. She gets bitter because nobody's offered her a communicuff. She's like, I think me being the Mockingjay, I would have a communicuff. I want a communicuff. I want a golden goose. It all kind of bubbles out that she is just very angry with Gale. He isn't saying anything about Peeta, and she knows that he knows what was shown. He says that he wanted to tell her, but everybody in command was worried that it would make her really sick and regress. I guess that's the right word in any process that they've made. And she's like, yeah, it did make me sick to my stomach. Did you see him? He's a skeleton. He is skeletal. But you also kept it a secret from me because Coin wanted you to keep it a secret from me. And then he gets a little Soldier Hawthorne, you're wanted in Gale. What? And she's like, you better get to command. She gets her Mockingjay suit on. Cressida wants to go out to District 12 and film another propo of their origins, where her and Gale met up, where her and Peeta met up, their old stomping grounds, what happened the day of the bombings. Plutarch is showing them a map of Pan Am. The rebels have taken over District 3 and 11. And 11, remember, is agriculture, one of the main food supplies for the capital. And they ain't working. They are not sending shit. They might be sending shit to the capital. In a bag. Fulvia says that their We Remember tribute for the tribute propos are ready to go. They say they're very upsetting, but then Katniss notes that nobody is talking about Peeta. So that means that Gale, he didn't go into command and be like, all right, the gig is up. Haymitch is not with them. And Plutarch says that Haymitch couldn't face it without a bottle, couldn't look at 12 anymore. Katniss thinks that's very cowardly of you. She's not thinking very highly of Haymitch. Go to Katniss's old home. He's not really given much of anything. It's too emotional for her. So they move on. They go out to where the Justice Building was. Gale explains what had happened the day of all the bombing, what he did with his buddies from the mines. They have him reenact his day from his home into the square, getting people all out to the fence. Katniss is following him behind everybody, and she says that it just feels wrong. It feels weird to have everybody else in her and Gale's woods. This was their sanctuary. This was their one spot. They could be themselves. Place where her father showed her with the lake and the concrete house, that brick house. They are all taking a break, eating cheese sandwiches. He points out a Mockingjay that has flown by to Pollux, mimics the whistle she had done with Rue in the games, and they all begin to mimic. Me. I feel like that girl that was trying to sing the Whitney Houston song. You guys remember that old video? And she just goes, fuck. Love you. Oh, fuck. I got lip gloss on. Whatever, you get it. Damn. No,
I can do this. Don't.
He writes in the dirt, sing, asking her to sing, and she's like, okay. So she does the thing that Rue taught her, I'm not good at singing. I can't sing. Everything keeps mimicking her. Then it makes her realize, I don't want to hear that. This was the last thing I heard when Rue died. Let me change it up. Let's hit shuffle on that real quick. So then she starts singing a song called The Hanging Tree. This song is a banger. It was Jennifer Lawrence's voice, but they remixed it so they put it on the radio. Remember when that happened? I remember it was everywhere. It's been forbidden and she hasn't sung it for 10 years. And the Mockingjays all stopped to listen, just like Peeta said they did. I am going to read you. I'm not going to sing it because I can't sing. Okay, you found one of my flaws. This song is very important because it's actually going to come back in the next book. We are going to find out who wrote this song. It's going to sound really repetitive, but just bear with me, okay? Are you coming to the tree where they strung up a man they say murdered 3? Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met up at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you coming to the tree where the dead man called out for his love to flee? Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met up at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you coming to the tree where I told you to run so we'd both be free? Strange things had happened here, no stranger would it be if we met up at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you coming to the tree where a necklace of rope side by side with me? Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met up at midnight in the hanging tree. A ghost story. Ooh, I got chills. Mockingjays, they are all repeating it back to her. They're not singing, but they're mimicking her. But then she remembers why it was forbidden for her to sing. I don't know if it was forbidden for everybody to sing, because things that we're going to learn in the next book, I'm sure it was not very welcomed. It's quite a dark song too, but her mother told her that it was forbidden for both of them. Actually, her father let me just explain it to you. He was about 7 years old. Prim would have been 4, and they were making necklaces of rope. Of course, that's not what the song meant. The song meant a noose. Didn't know any better, so they're just making necklaces made out of rope, singing the song. Their mother comes in, clearly disturbed, and she's like, let's stop. Give me those. Stop singing it. She's very upset. Prim starts freaking out. Katniss freaks out. She takes off running to the meadow. Her dad comes out there. It's okay. You're fine. Let's not sing the song anymore. It really upsets Mom. Let's just not do it. She says after her father died, something about the song just stuck in her head. She thought about it all the time. And now that she's older, she can understand the story more. Beginning starts with what sounds like a man who is asking for a girl to meet up with him, but an odd place being the hanging tree where a man has been hung for murder. The man who was hung has a lover and must be involved in the murder somehow, or was going to be punished anyways because his corpse called out for her to flee. But by the third verse, you can see the song is much more unnerving than a simple song. The singer of the song is the murderer.
He's a murderer!
but it's kind of cute.
And he's still in the hanging tree. He calls out for his love, maybe flee to safety and run away, or to join him in death. And then she starts saying, I always thought the man hanging in the tree, the murderer, was the scariest person I could ever imagine. But you know what? Now, after being through 2 Hunger Games, I'm gonna cut him some slack. He isn't so bad after all. The lover was already headed to be hanged with him for the murder too. We don't know yet. And him inviting her to be side by side with him was his way of making it less scary since she would be with him. But we'll have to unpack that a little bit more when we get to Songbirds and Snakes. Tune in next time. But Katniss turns around. She sees that everybody's watching her. Castor has been filming her the whole time. Pollux is in tears. Plutarch is over the moon. How the hell do you think of this stuff? And she's like, I didn't think I was on camera. Walking through the woods again, and her and Gale stop at the same spot, their rendezvous place, a big boulder. I like that boulder. That is a nice boulder. Cressida's like, let's go film over there. Her and Gale are still, tension is thick. I wrote, Katniss is still very upset with Gale and thinks, why are they always at odds with one another? The glue that keeps them together is slowly fading away. Of all days when they're back at 12 and could really use one another as a crutch, she feels more distant to him than ever. And then she picks up a berry, trying to see from his perspective, like, where do we stand? Also, I didn't point this out in the first one. One of the biggest phrases of the Hunger Games, they say, may the odds be ever in your favor. I don't know why I didn't mention it in the first one. That's what the Capitol would always say before the reaping. She tosses up a berry to Gale and she says, may the odds? He catches it and he says, be ever in your favor. Okay, we'll be cool for right now. Do a little interview on their boulder. They actually end up starting to laugh at a couple of things. They bring up old memories. When they're heading back to the town, Katniss asks if they could film her in front of the bakery. And she says, I want this to go to Peeta. And so she says, Peeta, this is your family's bakery. It's gone. Your family has not been heard from. This is what the Capitol has done. Because he hasn't seen 12. He doesn't know what happened to 12. But do you know who you're working with? Do you trust the people you're with? All of the torture devices that the peacekeepers brought in, where Gale was whipped. They're like, did anybody here receive corporal punishment? Of course, Gale shows him his back. And Katniss is like, you know what? You guys can finish filming up here. I'm going to go back to my house in the Victor's Village. She's in there getting some medicines. She thinks about the rose that's upstairs. And she's like, I am not going to look to see if that rose is up there. Gale is in the doorway. They're in the kitchen. And he's like, this is where you kissed me. And she's like, oh, I didn't think you'd remember that. He says, well, I'd have to be dead to forget it. And even then, I don't think I could. He's starting to cry and get tears in his eyes. So then she goes up and a little peck. And he says, I knew you would do that because I'm hurting. And then he just leaves and he's like, don't worry, it'll pass. I'm getting exhausted. They go back to 13. They get called into command. Katniss is wondering if they're going to show the propo. And Beetee is like, that I'm trying to crack into the Capitol broadcast tonight. President Snow is set to make a speech. Interject it during his speech. A seal pops up. President Snow is there making an announcement. But who is sitting behind him? Peeta. And his prosthetic leg taps to some kind of beat. He seems to be sweating, even under a thick layer of makeup. His eyes are angry and unfocused. Peeta, he's speaking more of a ceasefire. Can y'all stop, please? They show clips of the destruction happening in some of the districts. A large dam has broken in District 7. What is 7? 7's lumber. I try and remember what everything is. Let's see if I can do it off the top of my head. District 1 is... It's not jewels, is it? Jewelry? District 2, stone quarries and peacekeeper training. District 3 is electronics. District 4 is, sea life. What the do they call it? The water. District 5 is power, I want to say. District 6, transportation. 7 is lumber. 8 is textiles. 9... I know 10 is not cattle. What do you call it? Livestock. 11 is agriculture and 12 was coal mining and 13 was military. What the hell is District 9? Whatever, I don't know. I'll put it right here. And also I'll put what the hell is District 4. That's more for me to edit through. Thank you, Hannah. I really appreciate it. Okay, back to the story. Dam that busted in District 7. There's a train that was derailed and toxic waste is dumped everywhere. Granary is tilted over and he claims that all of this is caused by the rebels. And then all of a sudden, Beetee cuts the broadcast, interjects Katniss, just like a flash of her real quick, enough for Peeta to look to the side and be able to see her. And she's in 12. So he loses his train of thought. They show the image of her standing in front of the bakery and her telling Peeta, it's all gone. Your family's gone. He tries to get his thoughts back on track, but Beetee is able to cut more snippets into the feed. Everybody in the room is cheering. They're so excited. Katniss is like, Her, Finnick, and Haymitch are all glued to the screen. This is not good because they know, oh, this is going to be bad for Peeta. It means that he'll be tortured even worse. Capital is back and Snow is able to get out that the rebels are trying to disrupt the truth and justice will prevail. He asks Peeta if he has any thoughts for Katniss and he says, boy, do I. Listen to this. Let me just read it because I don't want to get it wrong. He asks her, how does she think this will end? No one is safe, not in the capital, not in the districts, and everyone in 13, you'll be dead by morning. He's not supposed to say that. He was not supposed to say that. That's a warning, bitch. Then panic ensues. They start yanking him out of his chair. Snow says, cut the cameras. Dead ass, cut them. We're done. Somebody knocks over a camera. All we see is the white tiles on the floor. You can hear boop, 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 beating the shit out of him. And then all of a sudden we see blood splatter on the white tiles. Cut the broadcast. And that is the end of part 1. But you know what? I'm gonna take a break. I'm tired. I feel fine today. Thanks for asking. Maybe I just needed to get back into the groove of it all. Sometimes I just don't want to hear my own voice. Usually these end up being about 6 or 7 hours long for me to edit through. And the thought of that just does not intrigue me. I'll see you in just in 0.12 seconds. I'm back. It's been a couple of days. Let's get back into it. Part 2 is called The Assault. Peeta is getting his ass whooped. Well, everybody around in command is freaking the fuck out because he's also said, District 13, you'll be dead by morning. Katniss, she's trying not to scream her head off. Finnick, her, and Haymitch are just like, Haymitch tells everybody, shut the hell up. He's not lying. Get everybody downstairs. Coin at first is like, whatever. She's not really convinced, but she's like, you know what, fine, okay, everybody get downstairs, please. Gotta go all the way down to like a safe bunker. The sirens are loud as Katniss says they are just ear-piercing sirens. Boggs snatches up Finnick and Katniss and he's like, I'm walking you two down here so you don't get into any funny business. And Katniss says the lower they went, less she heard the siren. And also her ears are popping, her eyes get really heavy. She says, we were coal miner deep, whatever. They're very deep in the fucking tunnels, okay? My mom and Prim should be on their way because they were in the hospital. They all get assigned a cubby for the family or their group. However, their living situation is upstairs. It's mimicked downstairs. Plutarch finds her down there and he says, he has such a way with words. Hey Katniss, you know, everybody's gonna be looking at you to see how you're gonna react to all this. We don't want you to lose your head. It's hard to see Peeta like that. I'm really sorry about that, but you need to keep your cool. People see you panicking, they're gonna start panicking. And just look at Peeta. Try and be brave like Peeta. And she's looking at him the whole time like she's ready to just and slap him across the face, but he's like, well, I'm gonna head back up to command, get yourself settled down here and we'll talk later. She finds a piece of paper, tells her what the whole group needs to do. Number 1, make sure everybody in your group, I don't know why I'm pointing at you, everybody in your group is accounted for. And she says, well, Mom and Prim should be here, so cover that when they get here. Number 2, go to the supply station and secure 1 pack for each member of your family. Number 3, sit and wait for further instructions. She gets 3 packs. It's got some bedding, 2 sets of gray clothes, a toothbrush, a comb, and a flashlight. Her mom and Prim's bag is the same except for their clothes have white uniforms for when they need to work in the first aid area. Down here, it's actually big enough to have a kitchen, a bathroom, an area for them to keep up with their physical activities and first aid. Her mom comes down there and she's like, where's Prim? Katniss says, well, she's not with you. And her mom says, no, she left like 10 minutes before me. She starts to go through her head, where is she? And then she says, she went back for the fucking cat. She went back for that damn cat. The soldiers are closing the door. Slides her hand in and she's like, wait. Thankfully, Prim and Gale are running downstairs just as closing the door. They're able to get in. It's like, what is wrong with you? I'm gonna wring your fucking neck. Prim is like, I couldn't leave him again like we did in 12. Don't be mad. And she's like, I'm not mad. Get in the damn cubby. And then Gale says, I went there to check and make sure you guys were all gone. And I grabbed all your stuff. If Peeta's telling the truth, by morning, this is all going to be gone. Got her game bag, her father's hunting jacket, the picture, her mom's medicine. Katniss has her parachute that has the spile and the pearl in it. And then he tells her, my family's going to be right over here. If you need anything, just come by and we'll help you out. Bye. You know, they're still kind of on, it's kind of touch and go with them. So they all 3 go back to their little cubby. She says that she lets herself be young again and let her mom protect all of them. So they're all huddled together. Coin comes on to the speaker and she's like, thank you everybody for making it downstairs in such a timely and organized manner. We don't know if this is really going to happen or not. Know if Peeta's allegations are true or not, but and then just then boom, bombs. At least one. He was not lying, ma'am. Katniss starts freaking out because down below, you know, if you think about it, Katniss does not like being in the ground at all. She's been afraid of it since her father died in the mining accident. Very triggering for her. It sends an aftershock through the ground, even all the way down to where they're at. The walls are rattling. There's like a tiny couple of little cracks in the ceiling. And she's like, it's gonna cave in. We're all gonna die. Prim tells her that it's probably a bunker missile. An explosive, it's a bomb, but it's not a nuclear bomb. They don't need to wipe out anything up above. They need to penetrate further down and spread out. Then Katniss still is spiraling, and she starts thinking like, what if we're caved in and we just can't ever leave? And what if they do hit us with some nuclear radiation or something like that? What's gonna stop it from coming in through the walls or through the door? What the A little while later, Coin addresses everybody again over the loudspeaker, and she says, well, he was right. Peeta's allegations were correct, so we offer our thanks to him. We're gonna keep you guys down here for a little while because we're thinking more is coming. A soldier comes by, tells their mother that she has to go to first aid, and I almost said Prattness and Kim. Prattness and Kim alone in the... Let's get it together, guys. Come on, stop. I don't know why. Katniss says, for some reason, I felt like asking Prim, how you liking it down here in 13? And Prim, she says, I want to go back home. I miss 12. Then I have to remind myself it's not there and we're much safer here. Prim says that she's certain that in the hospital, they're training her to be a doctor. Now, when I first read that, and of course, Katniss was thinking the same thing too, she's like, what? She didn't really ask Prim about it too much because she's just like, oh, that's so nice. But in her head, she's like, you're 13, almost 14 years old. What kind of doctor? What? Credentials other than this past year? What the But she doesn't burst her bubble. And Prim asks like, well, don't lie to me, but what do you think about being down here in 13? Katniss says, honestly, I just think that they're killing Peeta right now. He just was all but shown being tortured. I'm pretty sure they're killing him. Prim is like, they're not going to kill him because that's what you want the most is Peeta. It makes Katniss think about what Joanna had said in their last games when they had the Jabberjay hour. Her and Finnick got caught in that wedge. Their loved ones screaming. It sounded like they were all being tortured. Anna was going to go back in there and Katniss is like, I don't think you should. It might f you up listening to them. And she's like, they can't hurt me anymore. There's no one that I love. Katniss asks her what she thinks that they're going to do to Peeta. And she says, they'll probably do whatever it takes to break Katniss. They're going to push him to the brink, bruv. So they stay down in the bunker for about 3 days. Bombs came in waves. Drop a bomb, let it simmer, let people think like, is that it? Thought that people would come back up, they'd drop another bomb. 4 bombs went off because it felt like a tactic to keep people hiding rather than completely destroy 13. Really what they want right now in this moment is to keep Katniss off the airwaves. While they were all down in the bunker to keep themselves busy, a lot of people ended up over at the Everdeens cubicle because they had Buttercup over there. Katniss had invented a game years before when they had like some snowstorm knock out the power. She would get a flashlight. Can I show y'all my flashlight? My mom gave me a flashlight for Christmas just to have in case the power goes out. Let me show you how bright this thing is. I just have to show somebody else this. I'm gonna turn off my big light. Ew. Avert your eyes if you don't want to see this. Ooh, spooky. What the f? This is crazy. Of course, it's probably not gonna pick up on the... My neighbors are probably like, what the fuck? Are you sending out a bat signal? Sorry, I got distracted. Whatever, so she invented a game called Crazy Cat. And she would take a flashlight and she would just shine the light. Like what do you do with the laser pointer? Buttercup would chase the light. Kind of correlates the game to the present day situation going on. Peeta is the light. Katniss is Buttercup. What Buttercup wants most is the light. And when Katniss turns the light off, she says it kind of confuses Buttercup for a second. Then he moves on to something else. That would be what it would be like if Peeta just died. Clearly devastated for the rest of her life, but really frustrates Buttercup is when you shine the light up somewhere where it's completely impossible for him to reach and he can't jump up and get it. And that's what's happening now with Snow torturing Peeta to the brink of death. She says that's almost worse. It's like playing with your dinner. Kind of really rattles Katniss. Goes over and finds Finnick sitting in his little cubicle. As she's saying it, she's like, you know what? I'm preaching to the choir. This is what's happening with Annie too. He says, yeah, they didn't kidnap Annie just because they thought she would be a wealth of knowledge. He tells her that they should have told Katniss sooner about what was going on. Even back when he was in the Quill, he was like, I probably should have broke the news to you then and there. If he had told, they probably all would have been dead. But of course, that's what Finnick says. Part of him says, I wish we all were dead. Be done with all this. He wished that he would have told her how Snow operates. They're all pawns in Snow's game, all orchestrated by Snow. So he wishes that he would have told Katniss a little bit more of a heads up. This is what I was talking about in the last one. I kind of brought it up a little bit. He admits to Katniss that he wasn't convinced that her and Peeta's love story was real. real because he's seen the ins and outs of the behind the scenes of the games. I didn't think it was real. I knew it was all for show until we were in the arena and Peeta got shocked by the force field. He was like, I know you couldn't have faked it. So I knew then and there you actually really did love him, or at least strongly care about him. I'm not even sure if we all know what you feel. I don't even know if you know how you really feel. Something was real between the two of you. Then Katniss says, how do you deal with knowing that Annie's being tortured, Peeta's being tortured, all of that? How do you deal? And he's like, I don't. Girl, I don't. Look at me. Don't let yourself give into the breakdown because it's 10 times harder to put yourself back together. Finnick, wise beyond your years. He gives her his rope. They spend the whole night tying knots. He's like, when we come up out of this bunker, we'll get you your own rope. You need to keep yourself distracted. But the next morning, everybody's let out. The bombings are all finished. The whole section where everybody's quarters were destroyed, so they all got to move to a different part of 13. But Boggs pulls Finnick, Gale, and Katniss out of line and says they're needed in command. When they get there, they have brought out the coffee. Katniss says this must have been like hidden somewhere, only used in emergencies, because she could see that Cressida, Plutarch, Haymitch was up there, Coin, everybody looks racked. It looked exhausted. Coin says everybody needs to get suited up. I need you to go out there and film a propo. Let everybody know that Katniss is alive and well. 13 is fine. Well, not fine, but you know what I mean. While they're getting suited up, Gale kind of looks over at Katniss and he looks very hurt because she's also helping Finnick get dressed up and gussied up now too because he's going to be joining into the propos. Gale's giving her a look of like, this is what I picture. She starts thinking she would have to have walked past the Hawthorne's cubicle to get to Finnick. So he probably saw her walk by and didn't want to talk. Of course, it's about Peeta. He wouldn't want to talk about that. She figures that he's hurt because she just bypassed him and went to Finnick. And now maybe has a new BFF. And maybe they're in love. I don't know. He's spiraling too. They go up above. Katniss can now realize how cramped she was down below. And the adrenaline of the coffee that they've been drinking, the fresh air. Well, it's not necessarily fresh because bombs have stirred up some smoke, but you know what I mean. Carnage that was left behind. Everything is very overwhelming. The thoughts of Peeta being tortured, getting very lightheaded, a little panicky. Notes that also the leaves have started to change, and Boggs says that next week is the beginning of September. Well, if that's the case, then Peeta's been in the capital for almost 6 weeks. Just for you to keep a timeline if you want. Boggs lets everyone know that Peeta's warning gave them about 10 minutes of extra time to get everybody down in the bunkers. If Peeta hadn't have told anybody, Gale and Prim would have been stuck upstairs. Remember, she was like 10 minutes behind. She would have died. It's not funny. I'm sorry. Gale points out pink and red roses everywhere. Katniss is like, do not touch them. They're meant for me. It's a sign. They're from President Snow because they could be poisonous with hazmats and whatever. They grab them up and they're going to test them for poison. It's a symbol because her and Peeta in their last interview after the games, red and pink roses sitting behind them. They go to the Justice Building, or what was the Justice Building. It's ironic that they're going there because Bonnie and Twill had told her to watch the footage, the coverage of 13 that was always shown to everybody to be like, hey, it's gone. Don't ever come looking the same clip of the Justice Building that they would just impose a reporter over. Cressida is trying to like feed lines to her. Okay, Katniss, your line is, I'm alive and so is District 13. Just say that, we can go. And every time she tries to say it, she gets choked up. She can't get her words out. She's getting overly emotional. She starts to have a full panic attack. Finnick says, well, she's figured out what they're doing with Peeta because they know it's going to keep her on the hook. Oh, this was... Oh. So when she's crying and everybody comes around and puts arms around her and she says the only person that she really wanted to be with her right then in that moment was Haymitch, because Haymitch and her are really the only two there in that group. Know Peeta and love Peeta. Like nobody else is gonna understand. It's just when you get to the last book and you know they give her a sedation. She wakes up in the hospital. Haymitch is there. He says that Boggs says he's gotten a group of people to go in for a mission to go to the Capitol and get all the victors out of the Capitol and brought here, because as long as they're there and you know that they're there being tortured, you're not going to be able to do anything as the Mockingjay. Katniss asks if Finnick went, but he says no. Finnick's actually in the bed next to you. He was sedated as well too because he started to get kind of worked up. Katniss says, well, who is? Haymitch says, well, there's about 7 and Gale was the first one to volunteer to go. What if he doesn't make it back? What if he doesn't make it back? Okay. Shut up. We're in chapter 12. This chapter is juicy. Trigger warning. It talks of prostitution, CSA. Oh, hang on. My bra is slipping. My boulder holder's slipping. So Katniss is like, well, I'm going with them. But Haymitch says, no, they're already gone. She's frustrated. She's like, I can't just sit here and not do anything. Goes and talks to Plutarch. They agree to have her and Finnick go out and try to film the propo again. Play it during the raid that's going on through the Capitol in a way to distract people from paying attention to what they're doing. So they go out there. She tells Cressida, ask me how I met Peeta. She tells the story about how when she was 11, her father had just passed. They didn't have any money. They were starving. Peeta threw out the bread. If you remember me telling you the story in the first one, the next day at school, she saw Peeta and they didn't talk. They didn't say anything to each other. But she did see a dandelion growing out of the ground. Okay, but she leaves that part out. She doesn't tell anybody that. That moment where the dandelion grew out, it was going to be okay. Life is going to move on. Spring is coming. And I can make some dandelion soup. And she says, we never spoke until we were on the train to go to our first games. Cressida says, even at 11, Peeta knew that he loved you. Yes, and now I have no reservations of destroying the capital. Go ahead, Miss Mockingjay. She knows that they're torturing him to the brink of death and that they can kill him at any time. This is where she is breaking the fourth wall. She is exposing. Snow has even told me straight to my face that the capital system is very fragile and it relies on all of the districts. If they don't send anything to the capital will crumble. The districts provide food, energy, and even peacekeepers. Keep that in mind, districts. You're the ones that are keeping the capital afloat. That if the districts declare their freedom, it will collapse. And how? Oh, I should point out, the reason why she's told the story, she could have spit out a couple lines here and there, but what keeps people's attention, which is what they need right now if they're going to air this during that raid, what keeps their attention is telling a story. So now it's time for Finnick's story. Remember, Finnick was the youngest person to win the games ever at 14 years old. Right after the games, Snow started to sell his body. What the fuck? What the literal hell? Snow? People in the capital would pay ridiculous amounts of money for any victor that Snow saw fit. If a victor refused, Snow would have somebody in their family or a close friend or any acquaintance that meant anything to that victor killed. He was the most popular victor to choose because he was the most vulnerable and defenseless. Remember, 14 years old. 14 years old. 14. I might have to correct myself. He says that it was right after his games. I think in the last one, Katniss had pointed out when he turned 16, that was when she noticed that he had started to become kind of a playboy and a player. Of course, from the outside looking in, we didn't know. She just thought he was a whore. And I think she had said that he was maybe 16, but I could have made that up in my mind. He was a child. A child. Says that he was the most popular, he was the most vulnerable, the most defenseless, and the people back home that he loved were defenseless too. People would pay to have him for a night and would sometimes feel bad enough to bring him presents and money. In their first conversation ever, he had told Katniss, she was like, how do people pay you for your time? And he says, with secrets. Okay, because listen to this. Instead of asking for gifts and money, he started asking people information about what is going on. What's going on in the capital? And specifically with this dirty old man, Snow. And boy, did people in the heat of the night, they are willing to spill. Also, he was calling out a lot of people in the capital. The prep team was out there. Where are you? They were out there listening, and even Plutarch is listening. They're all standing back like that one picture of the girl is calling people out by names, telling them all of their dirty laundry, their sexual preferences. Diabolical some of these people are. It might be some of their friends. It might be some of their coworkers. This is like when you expose a CEO of a big corporate company and you find out all of their dirt. They're nasty. The P. Diddy trial. Those white parties, when we're finding out all the names on the list of the capital's most elite people, he talks about twisted sexual fantasies, greed, lover betrayals. Can you imagine if you're sitting at home with your husband or wife in the capital? You guys are capital citizens. You're watching this, and then he calls out your wife or your husband by name, and he says, and they cheated on you. Don't turn off the TV because I've got one more big info dump for you. I'm going to talk to you directly, Snow. Not really directly to you, but I'm talking about you, Snow. Snow rose to power very quickly, and he stayed there. How is that? Mimi, I'm first. How did you manage that? His rise to power was quick, and he was also eager to get rid of those that posed a threat of surpassing him to the top. Oh, when we get to the next book. And how did he do it? He did it with poison. Poison for a fucking snake. He had a list. You never knew who was on the list. People would go disappearing around him all the time. His closest adversaries would just be gone. One day, they weren't heard from ever again. People would fall ill all of a sudden and die. Snow was trying to be sneaky about it and trying to cover up his tracks. Poison their food, poison drinks, whatever. But he would also eat and drink from the same thing. But nobody would suspect it was him. And then Finnick says, antidotes only do so much. So now he suffers from mouth sores. His mouth bleeds all the time. His innards are rotting from the inside out. He started wearing the genetically mutated roses to cover up the smell of the blood. Suzanne Collins, are you all right? Is that big brain of yours too heavy on your shoulders? Big juicy chicken cutlet smooth brain. How are you holding it up? They call cut. Katniss asks Haymitch, is that what happened to you? I never hear you talk about what happened after your games. I don't hear you talk about your family. I don't hear you talk about anything. And he's like, no, I was the example. If you don't want the ending of Sunrise on the Reaping spoiled, like the very last little bit, just skip ahead like a minute. It's not going to affect the story too much, because when I got back from my games, my mom, my brother, girlfriend, they were all killed 2 weeks after I came back from the games because of his stunt he did with the force field. Again, kind of like what Joanna said, she had nobody else that she cared about. Haymitch cut everybody off and he didn't get close to anybody. Snow didn't have any leverage to use against him anymore, but he used him as an example for all the other victors to come. If you don't let me do what I want with you, this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna kill everybody you know and love. Then Katniss points out, yeah, that all changed though when me and Peeta came along, because then that was his leverage, was penis. The raid has started. Somebody points out either Beetie's really good at overriding the system, or the people in the Capitol can't take their eyes off of watching the stories because they don't interject and they don't try to cut off the broadcast coming from 13, and they let the whole thing pretty much play. There's little to no interference. Anyway, so the whole thing plays. When it ends, he turns around and says, well, if they're not out by now, they're dead. Did all we can do over here. And he explains how the whole plan was going to work. There was a whole thing about power failure and knockout gas. Katniss and Finnick are looking at the plan like, oh. It makes Beetee feel better because he's like, well, if it's confusing to you, hopefully it's confusing to the people in the Capitol. Hours go by. Finnick and, do you remember where Beetee was working at in the weaponry, a little hummingbird section? And they're just making conversation. And I just feel like I want to point out that Katniss asked Finnick, did you love Annie right away? And he's like, no, she had to grow on me. And it just made me think, I said it in my last video, and I really hope Suzanne Collins, again, making a request. I know you're listening. Can we please get Annie's games? I would like to have Finnick's games too, but specifically Annie's games, because here's my theory. I think that Finnick was Annie's mentor and it was like haters turn lovers sort of thing. Maybe not haters, but you know what I mean. He probably would have been so free-spirited and so excited about life, and now he is tarnished by the Capitol. He is seeing the ugly in people. He's a disturbed individual, darkened by this world. And then they find each other and they fall in love, and Suzanne Collins, get to writing. I'll be waiting. Truthfully, she could probably write about 70, what would it be, 72, 73 other books. And then she could write about the pre-dark days. Whatever. Get to cracking, Suzanne. You only got one life. You gotta make it count. Haymitch comes in and he says, they're back. They all made it. Everybody out of the Capitol. No casualties. Miss Joanna here, I left up her picture. As they wheel her by, she looks horrible. This is her now. She's bald, been beaten up. She's bruised. I'm gonna put her picture right here. Katniss can see that Gale is over on a bed somewhere. He's getting a piece of shrapnel pulled out of his shoulder blade. Oh, also Finnick found Annie. They go off and Boggs takes Haymitch and Katniss. Peeta is here. He's heavily sedated. You guys should probably be the first ones that he sees when he wakes up. They go in there. Peeta's already awake. He locks eyes with her. She puts out her arms to give him a hug. He puts out his arms and is heading to Katniss. But as he gets closer, he gets his hands around her neck. He starts to choke her out. My God, oh my God. He is trying to kill her. Wakes up in the hospital again. She's put into like a neck collar. They thought he had damaged her spinal cord or something. Boggs didn't knock him out. He probably would have absolutely killed her. Peeta sedated and strapped down. Prim is with her. Beetee and Haymitch and Plutarch, everybody comes in to tell her what the hell might be going on. They think he has been hijacked. He's been tortured with tracker jacker venom. And what their theory is, they think the Capitol was using tracker jacker venom to alter Peeta's memories with Katniss into something scary. The venom targets the victim's part of the brain that houses fear and creates hallucinations. Beetee reminds her of when she got stung in the arena. Did you see anything that you couldn't tell if it was real or not? She can't speak. She just nods her head like, what's her name? Glimmer died. She was getting the arrow from her. Peeta came running up behind her, telling her to leave because Cato was coming up trying to kill her, wondering if that was real or not. She couldn't tell right away. It looked real. I don't know. I also saw a big giant butterfly explode. I think all of his memories that had Katniss attached to him have been altered into something to fear. View her as a mutt, a scary thing that must be killed. So Prim starts to ask, like, well, can we reverse it? Well, Plutarch tries to be glass half full and optimistic. We have the best team working on him. All kinds of specialists are working on him day and night. We're going to get him up and running. Plutarch says they have specialists working on it to figure out a remedy, but also they don't know what other memories have been tampered with too. What if they started tapping into like memories with Haymitch? And then she's like, Haymitch, what do you think? And Haymitch is like, he might be able to go back to, a sane place, but I don't think he'll ever be the same at all. Oh, also, I don't want to have to be the one to tell you, but Peeta's prep team and his stylist Portia, this one right here, did die in the Capitol. They were all executed live on television. We never met his prep team. There was only a few scenes with Portia, so we never really got to know her. Not that that should lessen it. In case you feel like you missed something, you really didn't. Worth noting that no one has heard from Effie yet. So that's where it differs, movie versus book. Effie kind of took over what Fulvia's character was. I've already explained this, but so in the book, she's not really around, and they haven't heard from her yet. Over the next couple of days, or even weeks, the tracker Jacker Venom is slowly working out of Peeta's system. Only have people that are from District 13 working on him. They don't want anybody from the Capitol, nobody from District 12 to interfere, because it could set him off. One of the nights that Katniss is still in the hospital, Gale sneaks in there. When he thinks that she's asleep, she ain't. He touches the bruises on her neck, he gives her a kiss on the forehead, and then leaves. He's able to leave the hospital. They go to their new room, which has no window for Buttercup. They give him a litter box. Prim tries to also be the glass half full for Katniss too. So she says, at least Peeta, he could find his way back to you. It could always happen. And she points out that Prim has gotten all the best qualities of the Everdeens. She's got her mother's ability to care and nurture and heal. Her father's level-headedness. He never blew his top really. And Katniss's will to survive and will to fight. But now she points out Prim has her own. It's her ability to see the forest for the trees and see past the mess of it all. Now, let me tell you, this part is crucial to pay attention to. She goes down to Special Defense. Beetee and Gale have been down there working together on snares. They have designed a layout of bombs in the same style as one of Gale's snares, tactics that will destroy a main source like food or water. Also, drop one bomb, and when loved ones come in to rescue the hurt, drop another bomb. That one is important. Katniss she's unnerved when she hears about that plan. Doesn't that seem to be crossing a line a little bit? Gale's like, we're just playing by the same rulebook that President Snow is playing by, killed or be killed. He didn't really take into consideration if it was crossing a line when he was torturing Peeta, was he? Katniss doesn't argue, and she's like, I agree with you, but it's a little harsh. Haymitch catches her and says they're going to try something with Peeta today. They're going to send in somebody from 12 who's the most innocuous person they could think of. That way they can just ease him into talking to other people. Bring back hopefully positive memories. They want to send in somebody that wouldn't necessarily make him think of Katniss at all, but just of home. And so they pick this girl named Deli Cartwright. Deli is actually mentioned in the first one. Peeta and Katniss first get to the training center where they're staying at before the game, and they see the Avox. Katniss can't help herself. Oh, I know you. And of course we know the story now of how the Avox, Katniss knew her from running around in the woods. We can kind of just presume that they were trying to get to 13. Okay, but she couldn't say that at the time. She didn't want to out her. That would have gotten the Avox in more trouble, possibly killed. Peeta, to cover up, says, oh yeah, she looks like Deli Cartwright from school. I remember that. Okay, so remember that. Deli is a real person. She's gonna go talk to Peeta because they say her parents own the shoe shop in town, and her little brother, the only two that made it out, her parents died in the bombing. And then she reminds Katniss that she always loved Peeta as like a brother, not she wasn't into him like that, but she said that she would always tell people that her and Peeta were brother and sister. And she also has really admired Katniss. All of the girls in school thought she was just the coolest person ever. Independent, and she was fearless. And Katniss hearing this, she's like, I was not cool. I just tried to survive. And I also didn't have friends because I was not someone that anybody wanted to be around. I didn't like people. Haymitch says, do you think that there's any way that she can make a correlation for Peeta and you? Brings up, well, yeah, we had that Avox. And Haymitch says, yeah, we thought about that. We think it'll be okay because the whole story was a lie, so there's no real memory to put to it. So we're thinking it could be okay. So they try it. They send Deli in there to talk with Peeta. She's been instructed not to talk about the Capitol and not to talk about Katniss. Get him to talk about memories of 12. He's like, where are we? What are we doing here? And she has to say, there's been an accident in 12. We all had to come to 13. And he's like, well, where's my family? She says, well, people didn't make it out of 12 and we haven't heard from your family yet. So sorry about that. And his demeanor flips and he is angry. Well, yeah, it's because of Katniss. Capitol made her a mutt that was sent to destroy everything. And of course, Katniss hearing this is like, Peeta is sedated. They get Deli out of there. That didn't go according to plan. Thinks it's even more disturbing to have Peeta call her a mutt than it was to have him strangle her. And so she tells Haymitch, I need to leave. If you want me to be the Mockingjay still, I need to go to the Capitol so I can kill snow. Haymitch says, well, no, do you remember? Rally all of the districts first, and then we go to the capital. Right now, the only district left is District 2. So she says, fine, send me to 2. Katniss gets sent out there. 2 weeks go by. She's actually kind of dropped around different spots, so people don't know where she's at exactly. Filming propos, she's helping out at the hospital, but they don't want her in any combat right now. Joy's being in 2 rather than 13. Like I said, she can't stand being underground. She's still allowed to go hunting, but she has a guard. Let me read this to you because I'm going to forget it. District 2 is a large district made up of different villages that are all associated with different mine or quarries. Now most of the villages house peacekeepers and their training. What makes it difficult to overtake 2 is the fact that the center of the mountains is a large base of military operations for the capital that Katniss has nicknamed the Nut, because she had said District 2 is a tough nut to crack. The capital put all what was left of their military personnel, yeah, I guess so, weaponry, whatever they had left, which was not a lot, and they put it in this mountain. The capital lost a lot of its arsenal when they destroyed 13, but what they had left they stored into the mountain. Miners hollowed it out and reinforced pillars inside. Entrances for the hovercrafts were created, meeting rooms, arsenal, barracks. Terrain wasn't ideal, and they had to deal with mudslides and flooding. So far, it's been uncrackable to get into the fortress of the Nut. The rebels have really taken over everything in District 2, except for the mountain. The mountain is heavily guarded. Plutarch calls in Katniss up to date with what's going on with Peeta, and he says, oh, Peeta is making great improvements. He is sitting upright. They're close to making him believe that she's not a mutt. And then when she talks to Haymitch, he's like, look, girl, he ain't changed. Prim gave him the idea to maybe hijack his memories back, bring up the memories of Katniss, and instead of using tracker jacker venom, use morphling and calm him down. He says, well, did it work? And Haymitch says, well, he just really kind of got really confused. If you call that working, yeah. He couldn't form a thought, a clear sentence for a couple of hours. So we're still working on it. Katniss thinks like, it'd be better if he just died, honestly. This is worse, just keeping him strung along like this. And she's made up in her mind that he will never be the same ever. He will always live in the state that he is in right now. Miserable on both ends, for her and for him. Before he got snatched up by the Capitol, because he would have died at least that caring, sweet boy that she knew. Gale had offered to come with Katniss when she first left, but she said that, no, I need you to stay in 13 and work with Beetee to come up with a snare to crack the nut. He tells her that he saw Peeta before he left and he thought something selfish. If he ever does get better, then she will never look at Gale ever again, pretty much. She said that she had a similar feeling about when she was kissing Peeta in the games. She kept thinking about Gale. She felt bad. So then he kisses the bruises on her neck. And then he goes in to give her a kiss. She's made up in her mind, Peeta is not coming back. He's never gonna see me the same ever. He's gonna always want to try and kill me. What does it matter? I guess I'll be with you, Gale. As she leans in, he pulls back and she kind of snaps back to reality. Whoop, there goes gravity. He's like, okay, now kiss me. And it gives her enough time to really think of the situation. She's like, you know what the f was I thinking? This isn't us. We don't do things like this. When he tells her to kiss her, tells him to kiss him again. Tells her to kiss him. She can't. Gale's like, all right, I see where I stand. He tells her, like, kissing somebody that's drunk, it's not a real kiss. It makes her get a little jealous. Have you kissed anybody that's drunk? And he's like, well, no. Have you kissed anybody before me? He's like, girl, I met you when you were 12 and I was 14. I have been smooching all around the town. Plenty of people wanted to. She's like, well, then when did I become so special? When I got carted off to the games? Felt sorry for me? No, actually, it was about 6 months before you went into the games. We were at the Hob. We had caught some rabbits or whatever. Darius, that peacekeeper that turned into an Avox, he was flirting with you. Of course, Katniss, in her mind, never saw it as flirting, but in Gale's eyes, he was like, no, he was mad flirting with you, bro. No cap. Ew. I'm canceling myself. Nobody says no cap anymore. Darius was flirting with you to get a rabbit in exchange for a kiss or something like that. And I knew then I didn't want you to kiss anybody else. And so Katniss tries to justify it. Like, Darius was just joking with me. He wasn't being serious. And Gale says, I know that's how you see it. Wouldn't even be able to pick it up from a mile away. Gale. So then he gets salty and he's like, you know what? Take Peeta, take me, and take Finnick if you want. And Katniss says, I will be damned. How do you honestly think that me and Finnick would go together? No. Then he says, well, desperate people do strange things. And they just leave that conversation not well. Their relationship in this book is horrible. So the next morning, Katniss is able to sit in on plan of attack group meeting for how they're going to crack this nut. It's led by the commander of District 2. Her name is Lime. In the movie, guess who it is? Brienne of Tarth. Yeah, because she's supposed to be like this 6-foot tall, imposing, muscular woman. And Katniss is looking at her like, where do I know her from? She's a victor. Yeah, she won the Hunger Games. I don't know which one. She's running the meeting. She shows a map of the whole And the nut, I just forgot everything. She's like, look, we have tried everything. Edie says that he could probably override the computers, but then they would still need to have spies on the inside. And Lime is just getting more and more agitated. Tried several attempts and lost many people along the way, some of her friends. She doesn't want to send people into their death without certainty that it'll work. And then Gail points out that why don't we use the weapon as... What? Why don't we use the mountain as a weapon? Can I try that again? Use the mountain as a weapon. I'm going to bed. He says we could cause an avalanche, cover up all of the exit points, with the hovercrafts, the tunnel openings, all that stuff. Boggs says that their ventilation system in the mountain isn't strong enough to keep everybody from suffocating. They're all going to die. Beatty says, well, there's a train station underground. They can go out through the train station, funnel them out that way. But then Gail... he starts to say, no, we'll close off the train station too. Close them all in. Gail, you're making it very hard for me to... Gail. In that moment, she's like... Katniss in that moment sees that Gail has no intentions of saving anybody or even using them as bait, and this is one of his death traps. Beatty says that a lot of the workers inside of the mines are citizens. Gail's like, I don't care. So what? Who cares? Blow it up. We've sent in spies on the inside. What about them? He's like, I don't care. If I were a spy, I would accept my fate. I can't show my face. Lime says that they should all be given a chance to surrender. Gail said, well, we weren't given that opportunity in 12 when they decided to bomb us. Where was our opportunity to surrender? Non-existent. A little zinger. He's like, but you know what? District 2 has always been a lot cozier with the Capitol anyway. She can see it from his perspective too. She has to tell herself, well, I'm not Snow. I can't agree with that and condemn people to their death like that. Boggs, he votes for causing the avalanche but leave the train station open. Everybody agrees for that. Gail still says, well, you know what? You better be heavily guarded when all those people come out because damn sure that they will be, so... I'm starting to disassociate. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm really starting to zone out. On the plan by Coin, she approves it. Rebels go in and they bomb the mountain. The avalanche happens, just like according to plan. City Circle was like no man's land, but when the attack happened, the rebels pushed forward and caused the Capitol to move their forces back past the train station. Okay, that's important because after the avalanche, when people come out of the mountain through the train, hang on, I'll get to it. I just want you to know that's what's going on. Bombing the mountain and watching it from afar, it makes Katniss think about the day that she found out her father had died in the mining accident. Like I said, another reason she can't stand to be underground. I think me and her have the same fear. I think it's a perfectly rational fear. Not being able to breathe or suffocating, buried alive. A constant fear of, not constant, I don't think about it all the time, but I do have a fear is not being able to breathe. Can you imagine? But it makes her think about the time when her father had died and she grabbed Prim. They went out to where the entrance to the mine was. Their mother was already out there and they kept bringing an elevator up, bringing more people out of the mines that were still alive. And few people just kept coming up and eventually they knew he was gone. Katniss is told by Haymitch through the headset, because Haymitch stayed back in 13. She needs to get back inside, be protected because the Capitol might retaliate. Now they're just waiting to see if any survivors are going to come out. They're waiting. Katniss is told by Haymitch, hey, just want to let you know, here's a little positive food for thought. Peeta actually has made a slight change. Call it improvement if you want. We played him the clip of you singing the Hanging Tree. He could remember the song. They never aired it. They couldn't use it to torture Peeta. They couldn't use that as a memory with the Tracker Jacker venom. It wasn't negative to him. I remember her father singing that one day. I was about 6 years old. He came into the bakery singing it. And Katniss was like, and she says, did he mention me? Did he remember me in the memory? He didn't mention it. I don't know if you were there or not, but it's a step in the right direction. It's the first thing correlated to you, and he hasn't completely lost his mind over, so no train has come out, so they're gonna go ahead and film a propo. They want Katniss to make a speech asking everyone left into to join the rebels, and the Capitol is gonna fall. So just come on over, come on. Just hurry up, get in the car, come on. As she begins to make the speech, 2 train cars come up into the station from the nut. I hate that name. People come out, guns blazing. They were ready for a fight like Gail had said. The train cars catch on fire, so it's forcing everybody to get out into the square. One guy stumbles. Katniss goes up to him and she's like, hold up, I'll help you. Back up, bitch. He points a gun at her head and everybody's like, give me one reason why I shouldn't shoot you. And she says, I can't. You have every reason to shoot me. And I have every reason to shoot you. They were the ones that sent the hovercrafts to bomb 12, sent the hover ships to 8 that bombed the hospital. So she's like, I should shoot you. Actually, now that I'm thinking of it, it's all from the Capitol. 12 and 2 shouldn't have any issues other than ones that the Capitol has created. He tells them to make the Capitol happy and kill her because she's done killing its slaves. And he's like, bitch, I am not a slave. And she's like, well, I am a slave. That's why she killed Cato, who killed Thresh, who killed Chloe, who was gonna kill her, and it's all a big circle. No one wins except the Capitol, and she's done being a piece in their games. Hopes that it's a similar conversation to what her and Peeta were having the night before both games, actually. And she says, Capitol did it tonight. They had me play a part of their game. They got her to kill again, but for what? Because 2 and 12 don't have a problem, except for the ones that the Capitol has created. And then she asks why he's fighting with them against people that should be his friends and his neighbors. And he's like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know. Tells the people that are manning the machine guns up top, she says, these aren't your enemies. Turns around to the people out in the square. They're not your enemies. The enemy is the Capitol. Remember what Haymitch said in the last games before she went in? Remember who the enemy is? They went ahead and started filming her so they could put her on every screen. Her microphone is on so everybody sees her all throughout District 2, all throughout every district. And so then she asks everybody, turn away from the Capitol. You are the reason the Capitol is still up and running. So don't give them any more fuel. Just as she sees herself up on the screen, she sees herself get shot. Shot. I've been shot. I gotta sneeze. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night. I looked at the length of chapter 16 and I just wanted to crumble to the floor. Cut right here, please. But I'll see you in a second. We're getting back into it. No questions asked. Chapter 16. So Katniss has been shot. She's having a dream about Peeta. In the last book, when she jumped over the fence and she broke her ankle and Peeta took her to bed, she's like, will you stay with me? And he says, always. Then she wakes up and she sees that Joanna is in the hospital with her and she's been getting high on her supply of Morphling. Joanna says that the doctors shorten her dosage of Morphling. And she's like, you know what? Those two, I don't have pictures of them. 2 Morphlings from District 6 that were high all the time. Maybe they had it right. Numb the pain. Numb your feelings with this because living sober, that, especially after all that we've been through. But she's like, I've been stealing some of your Morphling while you've been out. Joanna's one of my favorites, actually, because she's a no bullshit kind of girl. If you remember in the last one, she was the only female victor from her district. So she was going to go back into the games no matter what. Same as Katniss. Katniss points that out. She's like, you know what? They should have saved you and you should have been the Mockingjay because you have no fear. They're afraid of you here in District 13. And Joanna's like, yes, you're right. They are afraid of me, but not at the Capitol. The Capitol's afraid of you. Also, if you remember, she was, out of all of the victors that were saved, Joanna knew the most of what was going on, which is still, I mean, the bare minimum. Most likely got tortured more than anybody else. She's got doctors that come by every day to talk to her, but they're really f***ing annoying because they just keep reiterating, you're safe. You're totally safe here in District 13. Don't be afraid. No need to be scared. And she's like, girl, I've been through 2 Hunger Games, suffered torture at the Capitol. I'm fine. Nothing y'all can do can scare me. That's what I'm saying. Like, Joanna's would be pretty interesting to see, too. Joanna's story. Because when she says, like, there's nobody else that she loves, what are you talking about? What happened to him? What? I feel, okay, in my head, this is what happened. She was told by Snow that she was going to sell her body or all of her family and friends would be killed. She didn't want to and put up a fight, and then everybody died. That's what I think happened. Joking with Katniss, she's like, do you feel safe? And Katniss says, well, I did until I got shot. Joanna's like, bitch, calm down. Cinna made sure that you wouldn't die. It didn't even puncture your suit. You got a ruptured spleen that had to be taken out, but you don't need to have a spleen to live. You're fine. Then Katniss asked her, why do you hate me so much? Like, what did I do to you? And she's like, well, for starters, your tacky romance bullshit that you got going on is very hard to swallow. It's so annoying. And also, there's a tad bit of jealousy. I like that she admits to it. She's like, you know what? Yeah, I am a little bit jealous. In that conversation, Gale comes in to see her in the hospital. He asks her if she thinks that he was heartless in suggesting blowing up the mountain and, you know, not letting anybody out. She says, no, I don't think you're heartless, but I'm not going to pretend like it was okay. It was f***ing sick. Again, not sick, like, He tells her there's no difference in what 2 did to 8 and bomb people in the hospital. And Katniss is like, well, that wasn't even planned. We planned this out. Whatever. They both agree to disagree. They don't see eye to eye on that at all. He lets her know that they have District 2. All the districts are now a part of the rebellion. After she was shot, the workers from the Nut turned on Capitol soldiers immediately and then joined the rebellion. As soon as she wakes up, though, Plutarch had a propo film showing that she was still alive. She says for the Capitol to expect them soon. Taking a little bit of a breather. Now that they've gotten all the districts on their side, let everybody regroup and reconfigure. I'm gonna have to read from my notes because this part, I don't know Latin, so forgive me if I'm not pronouncing this right. The Capitol's on its own now. It has the ability to send off a nuclear attack, but has not had a fraction of time to be prepared for retaliation. Plutarch says the Capitol has always run on Panem et circenses. I'll put it right here. What do you think? Katniss is like, what? Did you just cast a spell on me? What did you just say? A phrase from thousands of years ago. It was from a language called Latin. Bread and circuses. For full bellies and entertainment, the districts provide the bread and circuses, and the capital could keep control. But now, since all the districts have turned on the capital, now what? Plutarch says, we're going to film more of an entertainment propo. We need to just keep people engaged. We're going to have a wedding. Finnick and Annie are getting married, yes! We're gonna show everybody that we're having a real good hootenanny of a time. Coin is not very happy about a wedding. She would have rather have Finnick and Annie just sign a piece of paper and get assigned a room and that'd be it. They convince Coin, have a slight celebration, and everybody in 13 gets so excited. The kids start learning a new song. They get foliage from outside, I guess. It's just fun! Katniss offers to take Annie back to District 12 so she can pick out a dress that was left behind by Cinna. She picks out this green silky thing. Katniss points out that on the way there, I've always been told that Annie has been just crazy, insane person. She's not at all. She's just a little weird. She's kind of odd. She laughs at random parts of a conversation. Shouldn't be laughed at. Just zones out and really focuses on one spot on the wall. Mid-conversation. She's been through a lot. She really started to go crazy and mad, or what they said, when she was in her games and her district partner got beheaded, decapitated. She saw that right in front of her and it really her up. Leave her alone. She's a precious flower. Leave her alone. So yeah, the kids learn a new song. Some guy who smuggled his fiddle out of his district. Finnick wears one of Peeta's suits because they're from District 4. Fishing, I remember now, because they're from the fishing district. They have a wedding tradition. They put a net over them, a drop of salt water on their lips for their first kiss. And then the reception, they are having just a junction. A real hootenanny, heel-clicking kind of dance party. Katniss is like, look, we didn't have much in 12. We didn't know a whole lot. The one thing we can do, we can dance. When I read that, I was like, yeah. It will tie into the next book we're going to get into. There's a group called the Covey. It kind of stems from them. And then Joanna has to encourage Katniss to get out on the dance floor. Make Snow see you having a good time. So get out there so they can film it. So she and Prim, they go out dancing, literally grittying across the floor. The last little bit of the propo that they're going to film, a wedding cake that Peeta has designed. Of course, they all enjoy it, but Katniss sees it and she's like, Haymitch comes out there and finds her. He's like, okay, be honest with me. How's he really doing? Some days he's fine. Other days he's a total wreck. But it seemed like working on the cake for a couple of days really was a nice reprieve and calmed him down. I don't know, but we do want to try something. He was asking to see you. That sets her back a little bit because she's like, I still am planning to go kill Snow and then I'm gonna just go die afterwards. Like, she doesn't think of anything past killing Snow. She's like, I think I'm just gonna K-word myself afterwards. Me getting shot in District 2, that was just a setback. It sets her back because she's like, just kind of made up my mind that I'm done with Peeta. She goes to see him, restrained. He's got a tube ready to administer a sedation at any time. They both are very awkward. Hello. This is their first interaction other than when he tried to choke her out and kill her. This is their first interaction with one another face to face since she left at the lightning tree. And Peeta has no filter and he's like, you're not very big. You're not really all that pretty. You're not very pretty and you're not very bright.
So glad we had that talk.
Katniss is like, okay, rude bitch. You don't look so hot right now either. He laughs and says, shouldn't you be nicer to me now that I'm in this situation? And she's like, you were always the nicer one, not me. She starts to freak out internally because she's like, this is not going right. I'm saying all the wrong things. I'm just making it worse. She tells him that she's not feeling well and if he wants to see her again, maybe they can try again tomorrow, but she's gonna leave. And then he says, I remember the bread. You what? Sorry, what? She's like, well, do you just remember it from seeing the footage of me talking about it? And he's like, what? No, I didn't see anything. Why didn't they show it to me in the Capitol? And then she thinks, yeah, I filmed it the day that they were rescuing you. So there's no way he would have seen it. That memory was never tampered with. And then he says, remember you pulling a dandelion out of the ground? She never told anybody about the dandelion. It's a real memory for him. And then he says, well, I must have loved you a lot. Shut up, Peeta, shut up. He asks if she loves him and she's like, I must have because Snow was willing to torture you to hell and back. And he's like, bitch, that is not an answer. I saw the kisses that we had in the cave and it almost looked like some of them were real. Then he asks about if Gale minded when they kiss. Sir, stop. She gets upset and she says she wasn't asking permission from either one of them. It makes him laugh. He tells her that she's a piece of work. She gets very upset and leaves. She goes to one of her rooms, her little hidey holes, and she's like, now Peeta is seeing me for what I really am. Violent, manipulative, distrustful, and deadly, and she hates him for it. Listen here. Katniss runs to command because they're gonna go take over the Capitol now. out, and she is not invited. So she runs into command and she's like, what the hell? What the helly? What the helly, Cyrus? I'm going. Why does Gale get to go? Gale showed up to every single one of his training sessions. You did not. I don't think I really expressed how much Katniss didn't do anything in 13 since she's been there. She really was in hiding. You know, when they print the schedule out on their arm, an hour or two of training every day, she never went to it. And she's like, well, what about all my stuff I did in District 8 and District 2? And Plutarch chimes in and he's like, those were unauthorized missions, ma'am. He doesn't say it out loud. She like did her own thing. And Boggs points out that also on those 2 missions, she managed to get herself very seriously injured. Maybe it's just not a good idea. Coin tells her the best that she can do is once they go in and take over the capital, they'll save Snow for her and she can be there for the execution. Now you're demoted. Be there for the execution? Excuse me? Katniss has made it up on her mind that this is all she has left to do in her life. Go to the Capitol, kill Snow, and die. Coin says, all right, you know what? Here's what I'll do. We got 3 weeks till we ship out. If you can go through training, we'll evaluate you before it's time to go, and then we'll decide. So she's like, fine, great. Training day, here we go. She tells Joanna about what's going on, and Joanna's like, well, I'm going too. They go out there the next day to start their training with a bunch of 14 and 15-year-olds, and at first they find it insulting as they start going through their training. They are very seriously out of shape. 5-mile run, and she can't even like take a full breath in. Katniss can't because where she got shot bruised some of her ribs, so she can't expand her lungs all that much. Training captain or whatever the hell, Soldier York, she's like, what the is going on, soldier? She tells her, I can't breathe. York tells her, okay, take this note, go to the hospital, tell them to give you some medicine, and then come back tomorrow. She does that. She gets like 24 shots of shit in her ribs, burning, causing a lot of discomfort. I don't know exactly what it is. Because the medicine is so strong, they can't have her on morphling. Joanna comes back. She has to be weaned off of the morphling. Not even weaned off. She's cut off cold turkey. That night, it's not good. Katniss can't get comfortable. She can't sleep. Joanna is going through withdrawals. Sick. Her skin looks green. Then the next morning, Joanna's like, come on, can get up. And this is, pay attention, they're about to go outside and Joanna has a look of just like she can't move. It's raining. It's like a full downpour. Katniss looks at her and she's like, it's fine. It's just rain. She goes out there. They do their training. Katniss still can't run a full 5 miles. Joanna's shaking so bad she can't put her gun together. They try and eat lunch. Joanna throws everything up. They are worse for wear. All of this chapter is about 3 weeks long. Joanna asks if she could have her own compartment because both of them need to get out of the hospital. They deny her because they don't want her to be alone. Still think that she is on, I believe she's on Suey watch. I don't think she's mentally stable enough to have her own space. So Katniss says, I'll room with her and we'll have the room across from my mom and Prim. They can check on us all the time. They say yes. She opens up Katniss's drawer. Joanna opens it up and sees all of her stuff. Katniss notes that Joanna doesn't have anything of her own. All she has are the clothes that were given to her in District 13. That's it. She doesn't have anything from home, nothing from parents, maybe a sibling or a lover, nothing. Also, and Katniss notes that Katniss will take a shower. Joanna will not. She uses a washcloth and just wipes herself down. We'll get to that. Long conversations now. They actually get relatively close. You remember in the last one, they did not like each other at all. And Katniss was ready to actually kill her. And so was Joanna. Really moving up. They can run the miles now. Katniss is the best shooter they got. Joanna can put her gun together, no problem. They're really doing a lot better. They have lunch one day in the cafeteria. Now let me tell you what goes on here. They're sitting with Gale, Deli, Annie, Finnick, Joanna, and Katniss. Finnick has made a complete 180 from the person that she knew in Catching Fire in the Capitol, playboy, to this man now. He's a humble man. He does not let go of Annie's hand. He is never letting her out of his sight ever again. He has to whisper some words into Annie's ear when she gets lost in thought, bring her back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Katniss also says that Deli has actually been a really big help when it comes to Peeta. Been to visit him a lot more often. She also doesn't spread any gossip. Deli is a real queen. Tell anybody else what's going on or what Peeta may have said about Katniss. It's nobody's business. And then, in the middle of lunch, Peeta shows up. 2 guards on his side. He's shackled. He's holding onto his tray. And Deli's like, oh, hey, how are you? And he's like, fine. I have to ask permission to sit here. So Joanna's like, yeah, come on. We're old buddies. We're used to each other screaming. We were right next door to each other in the Capitol. But this makes Annie panic. She was also there too. Finnick kind of gives Joanna a look like, you bitch. Deli tries to get the conversation back to a normal ground. Anyway, Annie, did you know that Peeta decorated your wedding cake for you? And Annie's like, okay, thank you, yeah. Finnick gets her up. They're gonna go on their little walk that they do. Peeta says something. If it were Peeta 6 months previous, this would not even be a thing that anybody thought of. He's like, you take care of her, or I might have to take her from you. He was always so charming and sweet that people would be like, haha, Peeta. But now, he looks crazy and he looks demented.
Be careful or I might have to take her from you.
And then Finnick looks at Katniss like, Peeta, don't make me regret starting your heart up again. They leave, and Deli is like, yeah, he did save your life twice in the arena, Peeta. And Peeta switches, and he's like, he said he only did it because of Katniss and for the rebellion, so it doesn't count. And Katniss is like, bitch, Mags died and he could have easily have saved her instead of Peeta. They start having back and forth. A lot of things should count for something, but they don't. If you had a business that you were passionate about, then you would know what it takes to run a business that you were passionate about, but you don't. He decides to drop a bomb on her and say, I still have plenty of memories that the Capitol will never know about and they never touched. Remember all of our long nights on the train? There's no way the Capitol could have had those memories. Long nights that when Katniss would wake from a nightmare and he would hold her until she fell back asleep. Like, this is not the time, Peeta, but he asked, are you and Gale, are you guys together now? Or are we still trying to do the star-crossed lovers thing? And Joanna's like, nope, they're still trying to do the star-crossed lovers. So annoying, and I want to die. He's very angry. He starts like squeezing his hands and unclenching his hands. Gale snaps and he says, you know what? I wouldn't believe it if I didn't see it for myself. The Capitol has turned you into a fucking mutt. He doesn't say fucking mutt, but I added that. I embellished it. They leave the lunchroom. Joanna finds her later, and she says that after everybody left, Deli was telling him what for, and he got out of sorts. He started throwing his trays around. He started lashing out and was sedated and brought back to the hospital. And Katniss asked if she could really hear him screaming in the Capitol, and she was like, yeah. And it was like the Jabberjays in that wedge, except it didn't stop after an hour. Oh my god. Look, I still stand by it. I'm not a Peeta supporter. I don't ship penis. I'm sorry. By the end of the book, I was thinking, none of y'all need to be together. Just leave each other alone. The weeks go by. Training is coming to an end. Her and Joanna, they excel. The last bit of training, call it the block. They have set up a city block of the Capitol where it's rigged with all different kinds of, basically every scenario you can think of. Anything that could possibly go wrong goes wrong here. This is where you want it to go wrong. You don't want it to go wrong out there in the real world. The simulations are designed to gain position, find a target, and search homes. Camera crews are allowed in there to film Katniss, Joanna, everybody, Finnick. And Peeta has also started his training at the lower levels. And Katniss is like, why is that allowed? He can't even handle a comment from Deli. Plutarch says, it's really just for the cameras. We just need to be filming him so the people in the Capitol can see. At least it appears that like he's doing fine. Soldier York recommends Katniss and Joanna for their final test. They both make it through the physical portion, the weapons proficiency, and the written test, and all that's left is the block. One of the soldiers, he says, just to really hone in on one person's weakness, whatever that is, they're gonna focus on it. And so Katniss is sitting there like, well, I have a lot. Take your pick. But it's her turn to go in there. She gets through it very quickly. Shoots a couple of peacekeepers here and there. Pew, 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 pew. She's even thinking like, this is almost too easy. Something's wrong. You know when something's going too good, you're like, what's happening? It's a wave of peacekeepers coming towards her. She's outnumbered. And then she sees oil drum or something hanging up. And so she's like, oh, I can shoot it. A voice comes over, it's supposed to be her squadron leader, saying like, get down, don't shoot it. And in that moment, Katniss is like, oh, I know what my weakness is. I need to fucking listen. I defy orders. I did it in 2, I did it in 8, just didn't listen when they told me to get down. She didn't listen in the games when Peeta told her not to go get the backpack. She gets down, she listens, somebody else hits the drum, the peacekeepers all get wiped out. She leaves the whole simulation. Soldier York stamps a 451 on her. Congratulations, you're in squad 451. Yes, she did it. So then she gets brought to command. Squad 451 is Boggs. Ow. That's his squad. And they're called the Sharpshooter Squad. Finnick is there. Gale is there. There's a couple other more people that I'll talk about. Anyway, they are heading into the Capitol. This is the part of the story that I actually really like. From part 3 till the end, I'm all in. I think the reason why most of all I didn't like this part of the story, I'm kind of like Katniss. I don't like being stuck. When she's stuck underground, it's like, hell, let me out. They've been in 13 underground up until now, and it's just suffocating. I'm like, God, move on. They're listening to Plutarch. He pulls out this holographic map, something called a hollow, and it glows with red and green lights, and he calls them pods, things that were planted by the Capitol all the way back to the dark days. They've been planting them throughout all these years. Even I, Plutarch says, have planted plenty of them, and there's probably so many more that aren't even on the map. They could be anything. They could be mutts, they could be bombs, snares. It's traps. Her and Finnick get really close. This was tea. And they look and they say, ladies and gentlemen, let the 76th Hunger Games begin. Ah, you! Ooh, ooh. Yeah, you're so right. Of course, everybody gives them a look like, getting everything together. Finnick asks Katniss, what do I tell Annie? What do I tell her about what we're doing? I can't let her know that we're going into another Hunger Games. I will send her into fucking oblivion. And Katniss says, just tell her what I'm telling my mom and Prim. Nothing. They're already going to be dealing with having her go back into combat, let alone the equivalent of another arena. She tries to calm him by reminding him that this is different from the games because more people can live, and this time Snow will be a player in the game. Haymitch comes out and says, you guys need to maybe go see Joanna. She's put back in the hospital. What? We as the reader and Katniss just assumed that Joanna would have passed her block simulation because everything else, flying colors, just assumed that she got put into a different squad. Which also would be kind of really like, if I were Joanna, I'd be like, no, I need to be in the sharpshooter squad. She panicked in her block simulation and didn't pass it. They flooded the whole simulation. Then Haymitch says that's how they tortured her. They used water and electricity. So that's why when she saw it was raining, froze and couldn't move. And that's why she also doesn't shower. She's just scared and traumatized. Finnick goes to see her, but Katniss actually goes outside. Gets some bandages, and she actually goes outside to gather up some pine straw and pine needles and wraps it up in the bandage and goes and sees Joanna, and she gives it to her so she can have something to put in her drawer. And Joanna's like, what the fuck did you bring me? And she says, just smell it. It smells like home. That makes Joanna get really teary and emotional. And Joanna grabs onto Katniss and she's like, swear on anything that you love, you're gonna kill him. Finnick is actually in weaponry training with his new trident that BD has made for him. Like when he throws the trident, it can come straight back to him without him going to retrieve it. What the f***? BD, what are you on? Let's meet the rest of our super, what is it called? Sharpshooter squad. Everyone that joins the squad is a very skilled marksman. Let me just tell you that. First off, we've got, also, if you see my nails, shut the up. I am a hard 9-to-5 working girl. Was doing hair color the other day and I stained my fingers brown. Whatever. This is Jackson. She is second in command to Boggs and she can hit a target so far out nobody even knows that the target was even there, and she claimed, oh, I'm just farsighted. Two sisters, everybody just calls them League 1 and League 2, and Katniss says the only difference that she could ever tell between the two of them was that League 1, or whoever it was, whichever one, had gold flecks in her eyes. And I'm like, how can you even tell that? I can't even tell you what some of my best friend's eye color is. This was the best picture I could find of these two. We have a guy named Holmes and a guy Mitchell. All right, now they don't really talk a whole lot. Don't get too attached. Right, okay, vibes. Plutarch comes out and tells them, you guys are going to be known as the Star Squad. And they're like, what? We kind of want you to be just on camera. Okay, we don't want to put you into the true thick of it all. We need to just show people that you're in the fight, but we need to keep you safe. So they're all pissed off. No, we want to fight. We're the best shooters you got. So this is where Katniss starts to brainstorm, like, I'm not going to jump in and say yay or nay, because truthfully, I only want to get in the squad. So that way, when it comes time, go on my own mission. I just need a way to get to the Capitol. So she doesn't jump in. She's like, oh, okay. Katniss says goodbye to her mother. Poor thing, this poor woman has had to see her oldest daughter go into battle. This will be the third time. So she's had to say goodbye to her. Well, actually, she didn't even get to say goodbye in the last one. This woman has been through enough. Prim walks with Katniss till she can't go no more. Decides not to say goodbye to Peeta at all. She's like, you know what? It just wouldn't be good for either one of us, so I'm not even saying bye. Does take her pearl with her. Whatever the fuck. Then they drive for a couple of days to the tunnels of the mountain outside of the Capitol. Set up camp for a little bit. They say there's no need to worry really about hovercrafts bombing them since they were already destroyed. If they have any left, they're being reserved probably to take the president somewhere if need be. 3 days goes by. They're bored as film some stuff for propos. Like, they just shoot at things. Try not to shoot any of the pods. Activate them because they figure they set off a pod. People in the Capitol are going to know about it, and then that will detonate other pods. And it'll just ruin the whole thing. Anyone in the Capitol will know that they have a holo, the map of where all the pods are at, which is a handheld version of Plutarch's holographic map. Katniss is only given a paper map of the Capitol. She wants to get the holo. Boggs is the only one that has it right now because he is leading this squad, and it only opens to Boggs' voice. Once it's open, anybody can use it. Only open to whoever it's programmed to. Important to note, it has a detonation ability, so if you're in a compromised position, kind of like the Nightlock pill, if you get snatched up by peacekeepers or what have you, just say Nightlock 3 times and it will blow up anything within a 5-yard radius. Oh, I don't want to get to that part. One morning, they're out practicing, just shooting the shit. Literally, League 2 is shooting, and she hits a pod by accident. Some of them are not even marked on the holo, and it sprays a whole bunch of metal shards everywhere, and it hits her directly in the head, and League 2 is dead. I'm assuming this one was League 2. I don't know. I can't see their eyes from here. Immediately, they have to send out a new member of Star Squad, and no one saw this coming. Who comes running out of the tunnel? Peeta! Boggs is beside himself. He has no guards with him. He's got no restraints. And Boggs gets up and he's like, I'm calling the president. Madam President. Peeta says, Coin's the one that sent me here. Katniss can now see she's more used to Coin dead rather than alive. Coin does not like this girly. That is the end of part 2. Getting into part 3, the assassin. So, oh, sorry. Boggs goes and makes a call to Coin, comes back, and he's like, fine, I guess you're on the squad. Jackson in charge of creating a schedule for a round-the-clock watch of Peeta, and that he will be also, they're gonna lock him up. Katniss and Boggs go off to have a chat. Katniss asks, why does she want me dead? And he says, Coin has never liked you from the beginning, and she wanted Peeta to be the one to get out, but that didn't happen. Now that her job is done with uniting the districts, Coin doesn't really have much use for Katniss at all. If and when Capital falls, there's gonna be an open spot for leadership. Coin wants. Katniss is like, I don't care if Coin wants to be, that has nothing to do with me. Boggs points out a lot of people are going to look to Katniss not to be a leader, but who she wants to follow as a leader. If her first choice isn't Coin, then that poses a threat. It's getting messy. Coin probably feels that the only thing that Katniss can add to the rebellion now is to die. Boggs, King Boggs over here, he says, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to let Peeta kill you under my watch. So they go back. They've already got a system mapped out about who and when they're going to take turns. At first, Katniss was kept out of the rotation of keeping watch because Jackson was like, well, we weren't sure that if it came to it, we don't know if you could even shoot Peeta and kill him. He's like, well, I wouldn't be shooting Peeta, I'd be shooting a mutt. And she says it loud enough so everyone, well, most definitely Peeta, would be hearing it. So she wants it to hurt. She wants it to sting. Boggs tells her to put her in the rotation with somebody else. They're going to do it in pairs. Finnick, Gale, and Katniss all take turns with somebody from 13. That way, Peeta will have somebody that he knows, also somebody that's impartial. Later, Gale asks Katniss if she wants him to kill Peeta for her. She says that wouldn't do either one of us any good. We'd both be sent home off of the mission. He calls her out and saying like, yeah, you wouldn't be able to get that hollow and go solo now, wouldn't you? So she's like, Katniss, you're not very slick. Do you want me to go with you? And she says, well, I'm not going to stop you. Throughout the evening, though, Katniss keeps getting some odd looks from everybody because she is giving Peeta the cold shoulder. Tension between the two is thick and it's just not good. Haymitch chimes in on her headset. Can you try and be a little bit nicer? Because if the roles were reversed and if you had been hijacked, Peeta was trying to bring memories back, you know damn well that boy would not be saying snarky, mean shit to you. And he would do anything and move heaven and earth for you. Maybe the golden rule, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. Also reminds her, hey, do you remember that deal we both made? We haven't been doing that great of a job of it. Keep Peeta safe and alive. Maybe we should start actually doing that. It's her turn to watch over Peeta, and she sees that Finnick gave Peeta his rope, and then they start playing a game because he begins to say, I can't tell what is real and what's not real. And Finnick says, well, just ask. That's what Annie does. If she doesn't understand or know where she's at, we can tell you if it's real or not. Katniss really desperately would love to just have a conversation and just ask Peeta straight up, like, what is it you remember? Can I sort them out for you and tell you what's real and what's not? But she doesn't know how to even begin the conversation. Like an hour goes by and he says, hang on, I gotta sneeze. The last couple of years must have been really hard for you deciding whether you wanted to kill me or not, to Katniss. You know, the only time I ever considered killing you was in the first games when I thought you were joining the careers. Other than that, she's always thought of him as an ally. It's a good enough term to use right now because it's not emotionally attached. She doesn't speak to Peeta hardly at all. And just as she's leaving to go back to sleep, he says, is your favorite color green? Is that real or not real? And she says, yeah, that's real. And your favorite color is orange. And you're a baker back at home. You sleep with the windows open. Don't take extra sugar in your tea. You double knot your laces. Okay. And hides in her tent and she cries. Then the next morning, Peeta's talking with Jackson about, was the firebombing in 12 real? And she says, yes. Am I the reason why it happened? And she said, no. The game of real or not real helps out a lot, but she knows that she is the one that Peeta wants to ask the hard-hitting questions and only Katniss can answer them. The ones that really, truly matter to him. He asked Gale mostly about what things were real or not real from growing up in 12. Finnick about the games that they were both in. But when it comes to Katniss, she just answers kind of superficial questions, nothing hard-hitting, which is what both of them really want to talk about. As the days go on, the propos are getting stale, they're getting boring, they're just sitting around camping, not doing anything, shooting at the fucking sky. You were shooting at the fucking ceiling.
Did I hit anything? You were shooting at the ceiling.
The block that they're going into is full of pods. They're going to film a propo of them shooting at some pods and make it look like they're going into combat. They're going to add in some smoke and mirrors, but they're going to make it look a lot more interesting. So Boggs gives Peeta a gun because we got to keep up appearances, but only with blank ammo. Peeta is watching Pollux pretty closely and he gives him a look like, you're an Avox, right? I can tell by the way you swallow. Your tongue isn't there. Excuse me, Peeta. In the Capitol, right next door to two other Avoxes, the girl and the guy, Darius, that helped him in Katniss and his games. He says the girl's name was Lavinia, so we now have a named Avox that Katniss and Gale had seen in the woods. They tortured both of them. Lavinia died right away and electrocuted her, and she died instantly. Womp womp womp. Darius, the one that was the peacekeeper in 12, helped come to the aid of Gale when he was getting whipped. They tortured him for a long time. The sounds that he would make, just animalistic, because he didn't have a tongue, he couldn't speak. It was like dying animal. One by one, they chopped off limbs, electrocuted, they waterboarded everything, and then he died. I didn't put a picture of Darius up here, but womp womp womp. Peeta says that the Capitol wanted him to know, hear other people's torture too. The squad takes a fresh look at the hollow map where all the pods are at. There's one that's gonna spray bullets. There's one that shoot out a net that will scoop up somebody, not kill them, but in the hopes of taking them in for capture to be in prison. Gale starts shooting off at one of the pods. The bullets spray. They all get out of the way and duck. And then Cressida and her camera crew are like, we got footage of that, but can we try and reenact it? Let me get your perspectives, okay? Just reenact, like jump out of the way. They actually start laughing. I think it's a little bit funny. Masala's putting on a performance. Mitchell or whatever, they're all, I'm acting. Boggs even starts laughing. He's like, all right, team, let's get it together. Let's move out. He takes one step. He steps on a brick that triggers another pod. Bombs go everywhere. And Boggs loses both of his legs. Katniss and Holmes, they try and start to help Boggs from bleeding out. The bandages are getting soaked through instantly. Jackson is trying to get in communication with Command District 13. No luck. Finnick is trying to revive Masala. Where is he at? Masala, right there. Because Masala was blown off of his feet, knocked into a wall, and knocked out. Castor and Pollux are just trying to film everything. It's a mess. While all this is happening, there is a giant black tar wave starting up. That's another pod. It's starting to rise up. And I'll rise up. It's about to just... Gale and League One, they find an apartment building, they open up the door, they say, hurry up, come on, everybody get in here. Holmes and Katniss pick up Boggs, pull him back, and then all of a sudden, Peeta turns into that mutt form and he's going to try and kill Katniss. He jumps on her back. He's trying to choke her out. He uses his gun. He's going to hit her with the butt of his gun. Mitchell is trying to yank him off. Katniss gets freed. She and Boggs and Holmes go into the apartment. Peeta throws Mitchell. He pushes him off and Mitchell falls into where the pod with the net. It's actually barbed wire. It snatches him up, holds him up into the middle of the center of the block. I'm still Jenny from the block. Now's not the time. Long story long. Everybody is able to get into that apartment building except for Mitchell, obviously. He's out there. The tar, it's starting to crash. It's starting to coat everything. Fumes are poisonous. I'll just let you know right now, Mitchell did not make it. Womp, womp, womp. The block, it's not populated. There's nobody there. The rebels have taken over that section. Nobody's in the apartments. They go in there. They throw Peeta into a closet until he just passes out. Boggs, not looking great. He says, give me the hollow right now. Katniss gives him the hollow. He says, I'm passing over security clearance to Soldier Everdeen. Boggs pulls her in close and says the following. Let me read it to you. And I quote, don't trust them. Don't go back. Kill Peeta. Do what you came here to do. And then Boggs, womp, 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 is dead. I don't know if I really made it apparent. Boggs was, I felt like he was kind of a father figure, kind of the same as Haymitch a little bit. He really cared about her. Also, I didn't point out, when she's asking Boggs about why he would tell her all this stuff about Coin, Katniss always viewed him as Coin's right-hand man. And he says, because you deserve to have a long life after everything that you've been through. Shut up, Boggs. Now the hollow only opens up for Katniss. Jackson right away is like, all right, well, give me the hollow. She was second in command. She should be next up to get it. She didn't hear the whole conversation. Holmes was right next to her, so he heard it. And Katniss is like, no, he gave it to me. Holmes is like, no, I heard him. He gave it to her. So she's salty about that. Like, what the what kind of credentials do you have? Why would he give it to you? And Katniss can't answer. And so it makes her think about what he said. Don't trust them. Does he mean don't trust 13 and Coin, Command and all that? Don't trust the rebellion as a whole? Don't trust the squad? Don't trust what? Who are you talking about? So nobody can ask any more questions. And she says, I'm here on a special mission from Coin and Boggs knew about it. I'm here to kill Snow. Cressida, like, yep, that's exactly what it is. And we're supposed to be out here filming. That's why we're sent out here. Of course, this is not really the mission. She says Plutarch wanted the assassination televised because maybe that would go ahead and stop this war. And then Jackson is like, well, if that's the case, then why the hell is Peeta here? What purpose is he serving in all this? He knows the layout of the mansion a lot better than any of us do. Once we get in there, he can guide us around and tell us which way's up. Wave is all gone. The wave has passed. And Gale says, all right, look, we need to move. Y'all can do whatever you want, but I'm following Katniss. She's got the hollow. I'm going with her. They all gather up all their things. They have to leave Boggs behind, obviously. Castor and Pollux say there's security cameras all over the damn place, but because the tar was so thick, probably covered all the security cameras, so they should be fine to move. Throw on their gas masks because the fumes are still very thick. Okay, which way are we going? And Katniss has the hollow and she's like, I don't really know how to, hey, Jackson, can you help me work this thing? I don't even know how to use it. Jackson is like, bitch. They show all the active pods. There's a lot. Theory is that they shot off one pod, it sprayed all the bullets around, and it probably alerted the Capitol, and people were watching them on the security cameras, and that's why they sent off the bomb. So they started activating all of the pods around them. They see Mitchell's body hanging up, coated in black tar, still hung up in the net. They start walking. They walk for a good long while, like the end of the day, and then they say, you know what, we should probably post up somewhere. Let's go inside. They find an abandoned apartment building. Masala actually says that he was in an apartment building like this because he's from the Capitol. So I should note that the tar doesn't leave footprints around. It's like a thick goo. They don't have any footprints being left behind. They hear bombs going off, but Jackson says that sounds like it's far away from where we just left Boggs' body at, so I think we should be good. Television turns on and it's a Capitol broadcast. What they show? Footage of the squad just after the first explosion that took Boggs' legs off. The last thing shown was Gale trying to shoot down net that Mitchell was shot up in, and then it was cut because the wave had covered up all the cameras. Katniss, Gale, Peeta, Finnick, Boggs, and Cressida are identified. They just cut to footage of what just has happened of peacekeepers bombing the building, doubly sure that they're all dead. Announced that all of the squad is gone. When they really have it, they're on the move right now. Caster pointing out there's no aerial footage, so they must not have a hovercraft at all. And Katniss starts to think, like, well, shit, now everybody in 13 thinks we're dead. My mom probably thinks we're dead. Prim, everybody in command. What does this mean now? There was no breach of the feed from 13, so this makes everyone think they all believe it in 13 that they're dead. Gale asks, now that we're dead, what's the next move? Peeta says, Peeta's been out for the whole time. He chimes in and everybody's like, huh. But he says, isn't it obvious? You have to kill me now. He says that he's killed a member of the squad, so that's punishable by death. Peeta has kind of given up. He's like, you know what? I am not any help at all. I can't keep myself in check. When panic ensues, I can't say for certain that I'll be okay. He's asking if he could just die. But Jackson has to remind, you didn't even know you were killing Mitchell. You just were pushing him off of you. So happened to fall into a pod. That wasn't your fault. He says he's a mutt now that Snow created. He's a weapon. He thinks it's only a matter of time before he kills one of them again. He says if they dump him somewhere and the Capitol finds him, that would be the same as handing him over to Snow. And Gale says, don't worry, I'll put a bullet in your head before that ever happened. If anything goes awry, don't you worry, bestie. We will kill you. And then he asks if he can have a nightlock pill. And they're like, no. Katniss starts to think, God damn, this makes me feel like I'm back in the arena again. She tells him that he's important to the mission, so no. Masala shows him all around the apartment, little hidey holes that a lot of people usually put food in. Everybody that's not from the Capitol is like, why the fuck would you do that? Why are you hoarding food? It was really common even before the quarter quell because we weren't sure what the fuck was going to happen and we didn't know when our next meal was going to come. So they all eat. Peeta finds a can of lamb stew. Now, lamb stew was something that Katniss said in the Capitol that was her favorite meal, and also the meal that they had in the caves. And then she's like, well, now it really does feel like in the arena. So they sit around, they watch the anthem play. It really is like they're in the games again. People that they have identified say that they're all dead. President Snow pops up and he starts to say, well, we did it. And by we, I mean me. He doesn't say that. He congratulates the peacekeepers on ridding the country of the Mockingjay. With her death, he believes the turning of the tides with this war is coming. The feed is breached, it's cut off again, and we are getting a live report from Coin, and she acknowledges the bravery and the strength of all the squad members. He says it's such a loss that we lost Katniss. If you're ever feeling like your loyalty is wavering, just think of Katniss and her bravery. They cut that broadcast and give it back to Snow. And he says, okay, whatever, don't listen to them. Anyway, like I was saying, tomorrow morning when they pull the bodies out from that apartment building and you see Katniss for what she really is, just a plain-faced girl. I'm just an ordinary girl. But the Mockingjay really is a dead girl who couldn't save anyone. Broadcast ends, they all collectively agree, well, we can't stay here, we gotta move. Once they start finding out the bodies aren't there, except for Boggs, they're gonna start looking. Pull up the hollow, and it's just littered with red and green dots everywhere. So now they've decided the only way to get to the Capitol, underneath the streets, again where Katniss hates to be, underground. Masala says that the apartment buildings are designed, there's always a room in the apartments that has a utility elevator shaft into, it's not the sewers, but it's underground. Pollux, he can barely stand up. He has to hold on to his brother Castor. Castor says this is where he spent his first 5 years of being in Avox, underground, working, I don't know, on the whole city, doing whatever. It took him 5 years to pay out his debt. He never saw sunlight. Going back in, it's very overwhelming. Pollux ends up leading the group. He's more helpful than the Hollow is. They walk for about 6 hours. They cover a lot of ground. The main tunnel system underground is called the transfer, and they deactivate the pods up above ground because there's a lot of trucks and things and AVOXs walking around, and also heavy foot traffic up above that would trigger all these pods. And they don't want to blow everybody up right away. They deactivate them during the day, and then at night it's lit up like a fucking Christmas tree. Pollux lets them know that there's a wave that comes by that alerts all the AVOXs working down there. They need to go ahead and leave. It's a shift change. Before that happens, they find a little hidey hole, kind of like what Katniss was used to. Pipe situation. They all hide in there. They take turns sleeping. Pollux just stays awake. He can't sleep. Katniss, she gets waken up by Jackson to be on Peeta duty. Also, I didn't mention, when Peeta was talking about the memories he had of the AVOXs, he said that those memories weren't very shiny. Hang on. She asks him, what did you mean by that? Memories weren't shiny. Well, now it's starting to become a little bit easier to tell the difference sometimes. He says the memories that were messed with are shiny, foggy, and hazy. The ones that are true aren't. He says, well, that's good, so you can tell the difference between whether they're real or not. And he was like, if I had wings, then I could fly. Made me think of that video where he's like, if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a bicycle. Humans don't grow wings. She tells him that people don't need wings to fly. And he says, well, mockingjays do. She lets him sleep for another hour or so. Then they start hearing a noise. A hissing noise. And Pollux is looking around like, I think we should fucking go. They're mutts, and they're all saying the same thing. Katniss. They're all saying her name. So she figured the grace period has ended. They figured out that no bodies were in that apartment building, and Snow will not be made a fool. All hell's breaking loose, and they have sent mutts above and below to flush them out. This chapter, a lot of people are gonna die. Okay, brace yourself. Squad moved pretty quickly the previous day, but mutts are unnaturally fast, so it won't take them long. Katniss looks over. Peeta, who's still asleep, he's whispering her name in his sleep like, Katniss. So she's like, what the literal fuck? Shink. He's going to shoot him. And he wakes up and he's like, Katniss, you need to go. We're gonna kill you. They start hearing this absolutely horrific animalistic sound, and Peeta says, that is the AVOXs. That's how Darius and Lavinia sounded when they were being tortured. The mutts are killing the AVOXs. They start running. Peeta says they're not going to stop. They will kill everybody and everything that's in their way until they get to her. They take Peeta's gun away. They load it with real bullets, give it to Pollux. Everybody gets a weapon except for Peeta. He just has his cuffs. They're near the transfer. The mutts are getting closer and closer, and Katniss all of a sudden... Roses. The mutts are covered in the scent of roses. Another psychological warfare. This makes her lose balance. She falls out into the transfer area, and that's where she sees all kinds of fucking pods. Shoots at one pod that is full of flesh-eating rats. There's another pod that's just labeled meat grinder. Peeta tells everybody to stop. They all look. Masala, he's stuck in the middle of some golden light. He's like lifting up off the ground. He looks like he's screaming, but there's no sound. And then his flesh melts off of his body, and Masala is gone. Jesus Lord! Peacekeepers have come down to the other side. The whole squad, good shot, but they're outnumbered 2-1. She starts to notice that some of the peacekeepers, or some of the things on that side, are not peacekeepers. They're mutts, but they're like pale, awful looking humanoid lizard people. They are tearing through the peacekeepers. They don't care because they are out to kill Katniss. Katniss shoots the meat grinder pod by him a couple of minutes, but not much because she remembers first games, those mutts can jump unnaturally high. Pollux, he's able to find a pipe for everybody to go down into raw sewage. Now they're really into the sewer system now. When they turn around, everybody's there except for Jackson and League One. God, everybody's dying. So Katniss is ready to turn around and go back for him, but Holmes says, no, they stayed behind to give us some extra time. The mutts then begin to start coming through the pipe, and Katniss is able to really get a good look at them. Let me just read it to you. Size of a human, white scaly skin, clawed hands and feet. Faces show conflicting features. They take chunks out of each other's skin as well as their own. Pollux is able to find another ladder. Pollux is ahead of her. Peeta and Cressida are right behind. They all get up to like 2 floors up. She looks behind her. No one else is behind her. I'm sorry. What? So then she starts to go back down, but she steps on somebody's face, Gale, and he's like, go up. And he says, there's nobody else left. What are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? Katniss is like, no, that's not possible. There's 3 other people that we need to bring up. She looks down below. She sees Finnick's hand rising up. He's reaching out for something, and she knows there's no way to save him. So she takes the hollow. She says Nightlock 3 times and drops it down into the sewer. It blows up and they all die. Are you actually kidding me? That's the ending he got. Literally, die, Suzanne Collins. Don't die. Why would you do that? Castor's gone. Pollux has lost his brother. Holmes over here is gone. This is actually crazy. Oh my god. Good lord. Now this part, I will say, I remember reading this for the first time. I don't know what this says about me. When I saw the movie, I hoped and I prayed that we would see this scene, and we didn't get it. This is what the movie was missing. Maybe this is what would have made it 10 out of 10 for me. Peeta starts freaking out as his eyes are going in and out of focus. They're dilating like crazy. Katniss grabs onto him and doesn't even think about it and gives him a kiss. Snow was not allowed to have you. You need to stay with me always. That's not the part I'm talking about that I would have needed. This is the part that I needed. Pollux tells her we need to go up into one of the utility shafts to another apartment. They go up. This poor woman in her bathrobe. She's a capital woman. Pink, magenta hair, a bathrobe, peacocks all over it. It comes through her bathroom. Sees Katniss there. She's eating a sausage. I don't know why they felt the need to point that out. They both lock eyes. Katniss can tell the woman is connecting the dots, and Katniss kills her. Shoots her in the heart. Katniss! That's what the movie was missing, I'm telling you. To have a woman in a teal nightgown and magenta hair eating a sausage get shot in the heart. They move into the apartment. Gale has gotten gashed in the neck from these mutts. Peeta is screaming and biting down into a pillow. Pollux starts to cry because his brother's gone. Katniss and Cressida are the only ones that are like, okay, game plan. They go to the window, they look out. They are right in the center of the Capitol, okay? They're not far from it. Cressida knows where they're at. We are not far from the president's mansion. Let's go. Although they don't really make too much of a plan. What do we do when we get up to it? We can't walk through the front door. We'll get to that. They go throughout this woman's house. Thankfully, she had a male lover or a husband. She has male clothes for all the boys to wear. They all get dressed up, capital clothes, and cover themselves up. It's also getting very cold. It's starting to snow. How ironic. Cressida and Pollux, they might see people that they've known, both from the Capitol, or at least, worked in the Capitol. Gale has been seen on the propos. Katniss and Peeta are known by everybody in Pan Am. They really all need to cover up. Peeta asks if he can keep his cuffs on because he uses them, dig into his wrist, calls himself Pains. It helps him if he ever loses himself in reality. Head out into the streets. Well, they can hear people talking as they're walking by. People are not fucking happy. Most of them are with the Capitol, and they're like, can you believe this fucking Katniss bitch ruining it for all of us? Short on our food supplies, not getting anything. Katniss is like, find somewhere else where nobody's really gonna bother us. Regroup. We need to come up with a game plan of what we're gonna do. So Cressida's like, fine, I know somewhere where you can go. Go down some back alleyways, and they find a little shop. This character that I'm going to introduce to you is gonna come back in the next book, and I find her to be one of the most interesting stories out of probably the whole series. They go into this fur shop. Doesn't look like many people come in there anyway. Cressida goes to the back and she speaks to this woman. Katniss says she is the most unusual looking woman I have ever seen, even by Capitol standards. Her name is Tigress. I think she has the most interesting story out of anybody. And I can't really get into too much detail right now. You'll know more. Well, I say you'll know more in the next one, but that's the big thing about her story is there's a lot of holes in it left for us to interpret. Whatever. I'm getting ahead of myself. Katniss says this is the weirdest person she's ever seen. Her skin is pulled back tight, black and gold striped tattoos cover her. Whiskers come out of her face. Cressida calls her Tigress, and Katniss wonders if that's her real name or something that she changed it to so she fit her whole feline look. Also, Katniss is like, I can't place where I know her from. Cressida says that, Plutarch said that if and when they ever needed help, they could come to her. So she's in cahoots. She's in talks with Plutarch. And this makes Katniss worried, afraid that Tigress is going to call Plutarch up, tell him that they're all alive and they're at her shop, and then who knows what the rebels are going to do. She's like, no, this could everything up. We're right here. We are right here, bestie. So then Tigress, she kind of growls at the group and she goes to the back and she moves some things around, pulls out a hand out from the closet, and she goes like, she has like an underground cellar, and as she's walking past, Katniss looks at her and, oh, I know you. You were a stylist in the games. Katniss remembers her from one of the oldest games that she had ever seen. It makes Katniss think, is this what happens to stylists in the prep team, like when they're not in use anymore? If they're ugly, do they get sent to work on the, in the back alley streets of the Capitol? Katniss tells her, I'm gonna kill Snow, right? Tigress gives her a smile like, she doesn't do all that. And it makes Katniss wonder, damn, was she backstabbed by Snow? Because she's also wondering, why does Tigress want to help them? Because from the outside looking in, she looks like the embodiment of a Capitol citizen. And right now, they're ops. So they all go down to the cellar. Tigress locks it up until shift is over. They stitch up Gale. Well, actually, Katniss does it. And she's like, to really grit my teeth and do it, because she's not a healer. She's never been good with that kind of stuff. Gale passes out. Katniss cleans up Peeta's cuts on his hand, and she tells him, you got to keep these clean or else they'll get infected. And he's like, I know about blood poisoning even if my mother isn't a healer. That's what I told you in the caves, right? And she's like, They lock Peeta up around a staircase pole. They all fall asleep. Janice has a strange dream about Effie. That Effie's been telling her like, come on, we've got a schedule to keep. And every time she feels like she runs away from her, Effie's right behind her and she's like, hey, I'm still here and you still need to get ready. She wakes up, she's got time to actually go through all the lives that have been lost. And even the woman with the sausage. It starts to get overwhelming. All these people died. I lied to them. I said that they were on a mission from Coin for me to go kill Snow. That's not the truth. So then she tells the rest of the group, she's like, look guys, I'm gonna go at it alone. I put you all through way too much. And they're like, bitch, we are not stupid. We knew that was a bullshit lie. You put it on your list of demands to be the one to kill Snow. So you knew you were going there. And Katniss is like, oh yeah, you're right. I totally forgot about that. That seems like a lifetime ago. So then they pull out the map. They do have their paper map still. Cressida is like, we're like 5 blocks away. So then they start thinking, what are we gonna do? The president doesn't make any more public appearances, probably out of fear of what Finnick had said. He might have some ops out there ready to take him out. Katniss says, I know he'll come out if he knows I'm out there. Peeta immediately says, no, it's too big of a risk. They could either shoot you dead then and there. They could take you as prisoner and torture you. He could kill you in private and then show off your body. Gale says that will be our absolute last final resort. Tigress closes up her shop for the day, tells them they can all come up and have some food and watch the news. Clearly, everybody knows that the squad was not dead, but then they also show everybody's death. They conveniently leave out showing the mutts killing everybody. Show the woman that Katniss had killed with the sausage. They actually even painted her up a little bit more with makeup and made her look a little bit more pretty. Cressida also asks Tigress if Plutarch has been informed. Tigress says, no, I haven't said, and well, there's no way for me to even get in touch with him anyway, but he'll have figured out that they're at a safe house somewhere. She says that the rebels haven't talked about anything that's gone on today. Katniss says, well, it's probably because Coin doesn't know what to make of me. And Tigress says, girl, nobody knows what to make of you. They all go back downstairs. They're going to sleep for the night. Everybody's asleep except for Katniss. She's awake, but she's listening. Peeta, who's chained up to the stairwell, and Gale are talking. Gale's brought over some water for Peeta, and they talk about, Tigress was right. We don't know what to do with Katniss. Peeta tells Gale, you know, she loves you, right? And Gale tells him, don't believe it. He says, after their kiss in the quell, there's no denying that she only has love for Peeta. I should have volunteered for your spot in the first games. But then Peeta tells him that Katniss would never have forgiven him if he did that. And also, he's been helping her out more than he knows because he's been looking after the family. Gale, in their conversation, says that none of this really will matter in the long run because he doesn't see all 3 of them making it out of this alive. And if they do, it'll be Katniss that has the big problem of having to choose who she loves. Peeta's like, well, who do you think she'll choose? Gale says, well, it's obvious. She'll choose the one that she can't survive without. They all wake up in the morning, watch the news, and they see that the rebels, now that they know that they're all alive, well, most of them are alive, they took inspiration from that big black giant tar wave. What they're gonna do, or what they are currently doing, is they found a bunch of old automobiles and they're gonna send them empty throughout the capital streets. Pods go off, blow up, and then they'll go in after and freely walk. Well, then Gale points out it's kind of stupid because the people in the capital are watching. They can deactivate the pods when the vehicles go through, and then the rebels are going to think, oh, coast is clear. They'll just activate the pods again. And that's exactly what happens. The rebels were showing that as their news coverage. They were filming that and put that on the broadcast intercut in between Capitol News. Once that goes awry, Beatty gives up the news feed back to the Capitol, the head peacekeeper, saying, well, who tells everyone in the capital who has lost their homes that needs to evacuate, and Katniss can hear people knocking on doors of the apartment in hopes that someone will let them in, but most of them don't. They just kind of shut the blinds and, we're not home. Please keep walking. So Tigress says, all right, well, I'll go out for the day and see what kind of information I can get. They spend the day back down in the cellar. Katniss is going through plans. Should I just go out there and join the refugees? I can't stay down here. Isn't necessarily the best plan of action right now because every person is looking for any member of the squad. They all have a bounty on their head. But on the flip side, them waiting down in the cellar isn't doing anything for anybody either. This is only giving the rebels more time to come storm the Capitol. And then what? Oh my God, it's January 6th. Where were you at January 6th? You might have to check the date on this. It doesn't make her feel any better at all because then Coin would ultimately be in charge. Katniss would be sent back to 13 for changing the mission without any orders. Plus, all the things she's gone against since being on the mission would definitely affect the victor's immunity. The way it looked on camera, I mean, however you want to slice it, they don't know the ins and outs of it, but Peeta did push Mitchell off of him into a pod. The tribunal or whoever's in charge of his trial could spin it to be like, You did kill him. Y'all weren't there. Y'all don't know. Later on in the evening, Tigress comes back, turns on the news. She didn't really find anything interesting. So they watch the news again. And this time, the head peacekeeper is telling people that residents will have to start accepting people into their houses, and peacekeepers are going to come by and take a check to make sure, like, okay, well, you have to house at least 6 extra people in here. And if you don't, you're going to jail. You are going to jail. The president expects these people not only to be willing, but enthusiastic to let other people stay in their homes. Even shop owners are not exempt from this. And Peeta says, well, Tigress, my God, soon you're going to have to let people start staying in here and we're just going to be stuck in the cellar. The head peacekeeper also says that if you're not able to find any housing anywhere, head to the president's mansion. We're going to set aside a space for all the refugees to come by and stay. There's coverage of Capitol citizens taking it upon themselves to beat a man to death because he looked like Peeta. The peacekeeper is just like, all right, guys, even if you suspect somebody, just don't go after him yourself. Hand him over to us and let us take care of it, okay? We appreciate your enthusiasm. Katniss is going to take off. She's like, I'm out. I can't stay here any longer. Everybody in the squad agrees. Even Peeta. Pollux and Cressida agree that they can lead because they know where they're going. Gale and Katniss can follow behind them. But then they're worried about what the f do we do with Peeta? They say he's not going with them, but he says, okay, that's fine, but I'm not going to stay here. And he's like, you know, I can be more help to you guys than you think. I'll leave after you guys go. Watch from behind. If I feel like anything's going awry, expose myself and I'll cause a distraction. Clearly, people want me dead. People want you dead or turned in. Look what they did to that man that they just beat to death. If they see my face, it's enough of a distraction. You guys can have a minute to get away. And then they say, well, what about if you start to go mutt? Well, then I'll just head back here to Tigress's. If I feel myself slipping at any point, I'll come back. So Gale gives him his nightlock pill and Katniss holds onto him and she's like, don't be stupid. Don't just take it willy-nilly. Then Peeta's asking Gale, well, what are you going to do if you don't have your nightlock pill? Beatty has designed my crossbow. He taught me how to detonate it if I get caught. And also, Katniss is not going to let the peacekeepers or the Capitol have the satisfaction of shooting me. She'll shoot me dead before they do. So the next morning, Tigress dresses them up in all of her furs and puts some makeup on them so they're unrecognizable again for the most part. Katniss takes Peeta's cuffs off and she says she had the same feeling in that moment she had when Beatty gave her and Joanna the coil. You know, like that just weird, I don't know about this. She gives them a long hug. They haven't really been all that intimate too much. This could be the last time she ever sees him. Pollux and Cressida go out first. After a couple minutes, Katniss and Gale go out into the refugee crowd, and then Peeta goes behind them. Instantly, they lose sight of Pollux and Cressida. Now, let me tell you, it's gonna hit the fan, and it's gonna go quick. So just try and keep up. Katniss tries to turn around to see if she can see Peeta. She doesn't see him, but what she does see is a little girl in a yellow coat who looks up at her. He looks at me, and I look at him. But she can tell that the little girl is kind of like, Katniss is like, we need to move to Gale. As soon as she says this, rebels are up high on machine guns. They're trying to shoot peacekeepers. They have terrible aim and they are just hitting random people. One of those people is this girl. We're assuming it's her mother because Katniss and Gale get off to the side, looks over and sees the girl in the yellow coat looking down at a woman like, come on, mom, get up. Another wave of bullets comes by and the little girl is shot dead. Oh my God. Gale, there's a dead peacekeeper. He takes the gun away from him, shoots another one. Katniss gets that one. They both have peacekeeper guns. Another wave of peacekeepers has already started towards them, and rebels are coming from the opposite side. Everybody's caught in the crossfire. A pod opens up. It's a pod of boiling water. Yes, a big giant wave of boiling water boils alive a lot of people in the front lines. Katniss and Gale are able to get away from that. And because it's so cold outside, the heat from the boiling water mixed with the coldness of the ground make this really thick steam. You can't see about 3 feet in front of you. So then people just start, they just start shooting. Nobody knows where they're shooting at, including Katniss. I don't know where I'm going. And then they see a purple lavender light. And if you're caught in the light, you're bleeding out of every orifice and every hole, and then you die. This is the pits, man. This sucks. They have to run on top of bodies, and then they hear another wave of peacekeepers coming. So Katniss is like, get down, lay dead for a second. Peacekeepers walk right over top of them. And then, if things couldn't get any worse, they start hearing a cracking sound. The center of the street is now opening up into a giant pit to hell. Gale is hanging onto a door of an apartment. Katniss is able to hang on to the side of the street. She's able to look behind her. She's able to see the bottom of it. Anyone that was somehow still alive, attacked and killed by these shadowy things down at the bottom. It really is hell. She's able to save herself. And then she sees Gale is hanging onto an apartment door. It's locked. He can't get in. She shoots the door lock. It opens up. Gale rolls inside. Katniss looks up, sees a white glove grab onto Gale. It's a peacekeeper. A whole bunch of peacekeepers grab Gale. Gale mouthing something to her, but she can't really see what he's saying. Aim to take a shot at a peacekeeper, but she's like, what? And then all of a sudden she hears him shout, go, run. Runs around the corner, regroups for a second, pulled up her hood on her cape Tigress gave her. She's like flipped it inside out and pulled up the hood so nobody would really pay attention to her. She doesn't know what the happened to Pollux or Cressida or Peeta. She doesn't know where he's at. They could be dead. She's hoping that Peeta may have just gotten overwhelmed and just went back to Tigress's house. And then she remembers that Gale gave him his nightlock pill. Then it starts to click. As soon as the peacekeepers got a hold of Gale, the first thing they're going to do is take his weapon away. He would have detonated and had himself blown up. Mouthing something to her. Now she knows. He was saying, shoot me. She was like, the one thing that we all agreed on, and I didn't do it for him. She says this could still end how they had hoped. The capital will surrender and let Gale go, but she doesn't see that happening with Snow still alive. Get this, bestie. She makes it to the city circle, and she can see the mansion. The refugees are coming in. She can see there are children inside of the grounds of the mansion. They're in these, like, corrals, like fences. She starts to think, Snow is such a pussy. He's using children as a human shield. Nobody's going to want to shoot through kids. What a dick. That's what she's thinking. That's what she said.
That's what she said.
I'm sorry, I have to include that in every one of my videos. Sees hovercraft coming over with the capital seal on it. So she's like, oh my god, they had a hovercraft this whole time. It comes over top of the kids. It starts to drop silver parachutes. Silver parachutes in the games. So she says the kids, they recognize the parachutes are help in the games. They give you food, they give you tools to survive. They're always a positive thing to see. The kids start reaching up. They're like, oh, gimme, gimme, gimme. They're bombs. They start to explode. They kill a lot of the kids. Katniss is like, and she says, it was such a confusing scene because even some of the peacekeepers must not have been told what was going on because they start trying to rip down all the fencing and get some of the kids that are still alive out of there. There are some kids that they're still holding onto a parachute that didn't detonate, opening it up, thinking it's still something good inside. She's like, oh my god. Capital just bombed some kids. People are screaming, they're crying, pandemonium. Vehicles come in. Oh my god, I don't want to tell you this part. And Katniss can see that it's medics from 13 because of the white uniforms that they're wearing. And she's looking over across the city circle and she can see Prim. She still has her shirt poking out like a little ducktail. She's helping tend to some of the wounded. And Katniss runs over to her, just like in the Reaping, she was running over to her calling her name. Prim looks up at the last second. She starts to say her name. And then another wave of parachutes come by and explode. Are you... I don't want to do it. Prim is dead. I had to put the book down after this. It just is a test to show Suzanne Collins can write one hell of a book because we are so emotionally invested in most of these characters. It's just a kick to the gut. The scene cuts there. We pick up with Katniss. She's in a limbo in between, having a vision of, well, she got burned pretty bad. This really did happen and got burned very bad. Her back was on fire and she just ended up passing out. So in her dream, she is the girl on fire Mockingjay, like Senna intended her to be. Her wings go up in flames. They begin to get weighed down. All the people that have died and that she had loved are up above her, ascending to wherever the hell we go. She tries to fly up but is being pushed down by all the people she hates. There are deep waters pulling her down with them. A small white bird tinged with pink comes down. It's Prim calling out to her. And Katniss says, no, Prim, you need to let me go, because she knows she keeps holding on to Prim. She'll drag Prim down with her into these deep, hateful waters. Prim, let me go. Prim's white bird flies up and Katniss is down in the water. Then she says everybody was gone when she was down there, all alone, breathing in the water. She's stuck like this for days, maybe months or years. She's dead but not allowed to die, alive but as good as dead. And the only thing that brings her back is the morphling. This is so... No, this is unfair. I'll say it. God bless America. She wakes up with scratchiness in her throat from the fire. They do skin grafts for her. Her lungs are responding to treatment that they're putting her through, and they think that she'll make a pretty decent recovery. Her mom sits with her in between working the hospital there at the Capitol. Once she's able to actually stand having like a sheet cover her, then she starts having visitors come in, alive and dead. Haymitch, her dad, Cinna, Deli. Katniss does not talk. Her doctors have said she's mentally become an AVOX and just is not talking. So she doesn't ask any questions about what's going on, but people keep bringing her information. Coin comes in. She says, we're saving Snow for you. She says, you can be the one to do it. I think you've earned that. I'm like, thanks, Coin. She says her mother buries her grief with work to keep herself distracted. Katniss doesn't have anything to do but grieve. All she's got to do is just sit there all day. But she still hasn't really broken down. Not saying you have to. People grieve in all different kinds of ways, but she hasn't had a moment of let it all out. Is just moving like a zombie. What had happened when everything exploded? The war was over when the second parachutes exploded. Coin is now the leader of Pan Am. Fucking bitch. You and that hair, you and that bob. Snow was found guilty and awaits execution. Cressida and Pollux did make it. They're out filming some of the wreckage. Gale was sent to District 2 to help clear out some of the peacekeepers. Peacekeepers are not a thing anymore. Peeta was in the burn unit. He actually made it to the city circles. He was right behind her the whole time, and he got caught up in the bombs. Eventually, Katniss is released from the hospital, and her mom are given a room in the president's mansion. I guess it's Coin's mansion now. Like I said, her mom just stays in the hospital. She hardly ever sees Katniss. I don't think she can really look at her anymore. Too much has gone on in this woman's life. She is a true victim in all of this. Her heart has shattered so many times. I mean, a lot of people's has. How many hits can this woman take? Her and Katniss are kind of like in the same thing, where it's like, how many times can we put our hearts back together with pieces missing? Wait, that was kind of a sleigh. Haymitch is the one that sticks by Katniss to make sure she's taking her medicine, her morphling, eating. As soon as he has access to it, he goes back to drinking, numbing his pain. She wanders around the mansion, finding her hidey holes again, closets, bathtubs, just little pockets of the mansion where she can just be away from everybody. She has to wear a bracelet that says she's mentally disoriented. Taking a shower or a bath, she catches a glimpse of her body. My new skin is a different color than my old skin. Old skin is scarred and bruised. My hair is singed off and balding. She just hates the way she looks. She has a doctor that comes to see her just to obviously check on her. He doesn't pester me with questions about, do I think I'm safe? Do I feel okay? His name is Dr. Aureolus. It doesn't really matter. Dr. A. And she says, I think he just comes in there just so he can take a nap. Checks on me. I don't respond. And he's like, word. Bring in her Mockingjay suit or bow, but they don't bring in any arrows. I don't think they trust her yet, because Snow, he's been found guilty. They're gonna execute him. She finds a new part of the mansion she hasn't seen yet, full of like portraits, tapestries, thick fluffy carpets, and then she can smell it, the roses. And immediately she's like, the mutts are here again. The mutts are all gone. What am I smelling? What the hell? She goes out to a greenhouse area. It's guarded, and the guards stop her and say, sorry, you can't come in here. Commander Paler is there. She has access to whatever's behind those doors. You better let her in. And immediately sees all different colored roses. Red, blue, pink, orange. And then she sees a white rose budding. She doesn't touch any of them. So she takes her shirt sleeve, makes a little sweater paw, grabs the white rose, and then she hears former President Snow saying, oh, that's a good one. There's nothing better than the purity of white. Racist? Tells her that he had hoped that she would make her way to his quarters, and then it makes her think about in Catching Fire, in the beginning, he found his way into her home, and now she's found his way into his home. Sits on a stool, handcuffed, and he's got a handkerchief that's covered in blood. This man is sick, and he says, I'm sorry about what happened to your sister. Bitch, don't you talk about her! Don't you talk about her! Now get this, it was an unnecessary waste of life. He was just about to surrender when the parachutes fell. Katniss is confused because she thought he gave the order. And so she's giving him a look, because remember, she's not talking. And he's like, you don't think I sent those parachutes out, do you? We don't have any hovercrafts here. If we had hovercrafts, I would have been gone. What? It was all the rebels. It was Coin. He's not above killing children, but he's not wasteful. Only when it serves a purpose. Coin had issued the attack, so it appeared that the Capitol was bombing innocent children. Whatever allegiance the Capitol citizens had was quickly gone. Because remember, it had the Capitol seal on it. People were like, oh, how dare they? Snow tells her that it aired live on TV, and that was all Plutarch's plan. And he says, you know, the game makers, they're the ones that send in the parachutes into the games. Head game maker here. He says, I'm sure Plutarch didn't mean to hit your sister, but these things do happen. Remember I told you to remember the plan that Gale and Beetee were working on? The snare? When he said, what if you drop bombs, people come to the aid of those hurt, and then shoot off another one. Gale and Beetee. Beetee was also involved in it too. He doesn't take the brunt of it from Katniss, but mostly it was Gale's idea. It was Gale's brainchild. Oh, shit. Now, of course, Gale didn't know that would happen. He wasn't expecting the rebels to spin it around. That was not what he had intended. He says his problem that he had, well, actually both of them had, was that they spent too much time worrying about each other when they should have been worrying about Miss Coin. And Katniss is like, it is kind of weird that she didn't help out too much in the rallying all the districts and only just kind of came in at the very end of it all. Coin wanted Snow Spot from the beginning. 13 was the one that started the rebellion and then retreated and didn't help any other districts when the tides turned. He tells Katniss that he was never watching Coin, he was watching Katniss, and she was watching him. They both been played for fools. Now this is... she finally speaks up and she says, I don't believe you. He gives her a smile and says, I thought we agreed to not lie to each other. You! We're in chapter 26. We're almost done. These last handful of chapters are just... Katniss leaves. Paler's outside and she's like, did you find what you were looking for? Because Paler knew he was in there the whole time. And Katniss took that rose and she just shows her the rose and then goes into her room. She puts the rose in some water. She's got to break it all down. Possibilities of the rebels actually causing this. What she first believed, that the Capitol obviously was the one that killed them all. And she's like, we've had 75 games worth of killing kids. They're not above it. Not hard to believe that they would do this. Ponder the idea of the rebels doing it. Rebels sent in parachutes to put a quick end to the war. If that was the case, then why wouldn't the Capitol retaliate and fight back? Why would the rebels do this and let their own medics go in, only to be taken out by the second blast? But again, Beetee and Gale's plan to drop a bomb and lure people only to hit them again. And everything that Snow said about Coin is true, about wanting power and not really lifting too much of a finger to help out gather all the districts. She really didn't. Not that we ever saw. She was like, why would they send in their own medics? And why would the rebels do this? Bomb the kids and send in their own medics to help out and then bomb the medics? Is it just like, well, sorry, we're gonna have to lose a couple of lives here. Also, it's very fishy. Katniss starts thinking, I'm wondering if she did all this to target me. She sent Prim in there. Prim is only 14. I think she might have turned 14 while she's been in District 13. When she said that they were training her to be a doctor, Katniss, remember, she was kind of like, what the why? I mean, you're so young. Coin probably thought, if I send Prim in, Katniss catches a glimpse of her, exactly what happened, in the hopes that Katniss would see her, watch her die. It would just send Katniss over the edge of either or. You know, Katniss would think that it's the Capitol bombing, so then she would be on Coin's side. Or it would send her in just a complete mental implode, and she would just be a zombie. Coin let the districts run each other into the ground, and then came in at the last second into power. What confuses Katniss for a moment is that the rebels were close to winning anyway, and Coin had all that she was wanting. Then she thinks Coin didn't have her, Katniss. Then she remembers what Boggs said. Don't trust any of them. If you're not on her side when it's time for her to become the leader, then you're a threat. Katniss really only put up with Coin, but she never acknowledged her as a leader of anything. Oh my god, it's such a mess. The only people that she can think of that would be in on any strategy like this would be Coin, Plutarch, and some of the command, higher ups. So Plutarch, shady man. She's got no one to talk to about this. Who's she gonna talk to? Her mom? The doctor? Peeta's still in the burn unit. Gale's not here. So the only person she really has to talk to would be Haymitch. So she finds his room. Again, he's already taken to the bottle, making up for lost time. And his room is disgusting. It's just nasty. She's like, I need to talk to you. And he's like, oh, is it boy trouble? And something about this it sends her over the edge emotionally. He's like, all right, that wasn't funny. I'm sorry. But she leaves. She finds a new little hidey hole to go to. She falls asleep. She has more nightmares. She's got nightmares of Snow coming to get her still. Find her in the closet. They bring her into her room. Haymitch is there. Do you want to talk now? And she doesn't answer him. And then she's got to get ready because today is the day of the execution. She goes into the bathroom. The prep team is there. Yay! And they are horrified. Look at her body and her skin and they're like, Jesus, Jerome Christ. They get her ready, do the best they can, put her in her Mockingjay suit, they pin over her heart. Guess who's out there waiting for her? Effie motherfucking Trinket! Yeah, Katniss says she's got a vacant look in her eyes. There's no, oh my god, I've missed you. Oh my god, everything you've been through. It's business as usual. She has her clipboard and she's like, we need to stick to the schedule. Okay, we've got an itinerary, so let's go ahead and let's get moving. She picks up just like they hadn't skipped a beat, which probably is a good thing for Katniss, maybe. I don't think she can handle any more emotional baggage dumped on her right now. The last time she saw Effie was just before their interviews before the Quarter Quell because she wasn't able to see Effie before they went into the game. Effie tells her, you got a couple minutes because Gale has shown up. We have to mourn a friendship. He brings in her bow and arrow and her sheath and it's got one arrow in it. Coin wanted it to be symbolic. She's like, so what if I miss? Is Coin gonna go grab the arrow and bring it back to me? And he's like, you won't miss. There's a silence between them. She says, was it your bomb? And he says, me and Beetee, we can't figure it out. We don't know. Oh my god. She says she tries to think of a time with her and Gale before any of the games, before the reaping, when it was just two kids out in the woods who had thought about running away together. Could they make it? And then she says, had that life gone differently, or would something always draw a wedge between the two? Was it always going to happen where they were going to have to go separate ways? Was there always going to be something to push them apart? And it just so happened in this lifetime, it happened to be his idea of the bomb, the death trap. He says it doesn't matter now because she'll never be able to look at him the same way ever again and not think it wasn't his bomb. The one thing I was supposed to do from the get-go, from the very beginning of these stories, I'll protect your family. And that was the only thing I had going for me with you, was protecting your family. And she doesn't answer him, and that is enough for both of them to know we're done. Oh my god! No! But yes! And all he says, the last thing he ever says to her is, shoot straight. And then he leaves. I'm punching the air. No! So Effie comes by and tells Katniss she's got a meeting to go to before they go out for the execution. She takes her to a room and there is Joanna, Anabaria, where are you at? Anabaria, Annie, Haymitch, Peeta, her, Beetee. And she's like, what is going on? Haymitch says, well, we don't know. These are all of the victors that are left. We're the only ones. That means, you remember me telling you about Lime, one of the victors, and she was commander of District 2? So she didn't make it. Beetee says, either the Capitol killed victors that they thought were part of the rebellion, people in the rebellion killed victors that thought they were favoring the Capitol. Joanna is like, well, why is Anabaria still here? Anabaria favored the Capitol. You know, she didn't have much of a problem that we know of. And then Coin comes in and says, well, it's because Katniss had requested that all the victors were granted immunity when we got everybody out. So that still stands. Well, Joanna's like, don't worry, I'll still kill you. Anabaria does not give a damn. So the reason that they call this meeting, I love this part. I'm sorry, I did. I thought this was really interesting to throw this in there. Coin says, we need you guys to help us make a decision. So here's the tea. Accomplices of Snow await their execution, but their victims have suffered for years in the districts, don't feel that it's enough, and many are calling for an annihilation of any Capitol citizen. And Coin says that if they want to keep a sustainable population, they can't afford to execute that many people. What they want to propose is a symbolic final Hunger Games, and use the children of those in the Capitol that held very high power, they were elite, put their kids into the Hunger Games. Everybody's like, the remaining victors get the vote. If it's decided yes, everyone will know that they chose to agree to this. Their individual breakdown of votes will be kept private. So Peeta immediately is like, no. Well, whose idea was this? And Coin was like, actually, it was my idea. You bastard bitch. You bastard bitch. She said it seemed the best way for people to have a vengeance with the least amount of loss of life. Wait, did I write that right? Least amount of life lost. Can I read? No. Annie says no. Beetee votes no. Joanna and Anabaria actually agree with one another because they're like, let them get a taste of their own medicine. Yes. So now it's down to Katniss and Haymitch. And Katniss has it going through her mind. She's like, it's just a circle. Like I said earlier with her, Thresh and Cato and Clove, it's just a circle and it will never end. And so then she's watching the rose. She's brought the rose with her. She wants Snow to wear it when she executes him. So she's like, you know what? For Prim, I vote yes. Haymitch was waiting for what Katniss was going to say, and he says, I'm with the Mockingjay. Whatever she says, I agree with. So the yeses have it, and Coin is like, great, I'll let everybody know after the execution. Katniss runs over and she's like, can you make sure Snow is wearing this? And she's like, yes, and I'll make sure he knows about the games. They get in positions. It's time to bust that cap in someone's ass. Now look here. They all go out to the big city circle. People are lining the streets. Katniss is put into place. Turns around, you know, she doesn't wave. I don't know why I'm doing that. She's like, well, no wonder I only got one arrow because he's like 10 yards away from her. So she's like, there's no chance I could miss. Hello? They bring him out. People are losing it. They shackle Snow up to a post. She gets all looking at his face to see if there is any remorse or any fear at all. No. And he gives her the same smile that he gave her when he was talking to her in the greenhouse. The same one that was like, we agreed not to lie to each other. That moment, she knows he was not lying, and Coin was the one that issued the bombs that killed her sister. She's got it aimed at Snow at the last second, points it up. Ching! Can you hear me? She kills President Coin. I'm trying not to scream too loud because I got neighbors. Coin died. She fell off the balcony, fell forward and died. That is so, I'm okay. Look at the board. We're in the last chapter, chapter 27. Stay with me. We are right here at the end. This is the last bit. All she can hear is Snow's laughter. That sounds guttural, gurgling with blood. He's gonna die anyway. Justice that he actually died choking on his own blood. Oh, yeah. Well, I just gave it up. Snow died. President Snow has croaked. People storm the street. Katniss, she whispers to her bow. She says goodnight. It turns off. She goes to bite her nightlock pill. Instead, she bites onto Peeta's hand. Peeta covers it up and he's like, nah. And she's looking at him like, let me fucking go. Because remember I told you, I got lipstick on my hand. After she killed Snow, she had planned to just die. Push daisies, as they say. Let me tell you what's going on. The guards block her view from Snow. She can't see what's going on with him. Not that she really even cares. People are storming the streets. Once she can't get to her nightlock pill, she's like lifted up into the air. She's kicking and screaming. She was yelling at Gale, shoot me. Fucking shoot me. He says whether he didn't hear me or whether he didn't want to, I didn't shoot him when he was asking me to shoot him. We're both a piece of shit. The guards get her, handcuff her, shackle her, they blindfold her, throw her into a building somewhere, and then they transport her where? To her old room at the training center, where she was at just before she went out into the games. But the room is stripped bare, there's nothing in there for her. The only thing she has is a flat mattress. She takes off her Mockingjay suit and goes into her bathroom, bruised horribly just from being grabbed on and crashing, and she thinks she broke a finger. Takes a long shower. When she comes out, her Mockingjay suit is gone. So somebody's been in the room. A tray of food is left behind, medicine is left behind, and a paper robe. She eats a little bit of her food, she takes her medicine, and then she sits there and she's like, all right, well, what are we gonna do? I'm gonna kill myself. What else is there left to do? I mean, I'm gonna be probably executed. What's to come out of this? I've killed the president. Well, I can't jump out the window. The glass is too thick, and also there's a force field around the training center. I would hang myself, but there's nothing in here for me to hang from. This is not funny, I'm sorry, but I don't know how else to deal with it, so I just laugh out of awkwardness. Maybe I could stockpile some of my morphling pills and then just overdose on that. But I think I'm being watched. You know what? I'm just gonna cut everything off cold turkey. I'm not even gonna eat. I'm not gonna take my pills. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna rot. Well, that doesn't last long because then she goes through a little bit of withdrawal and she's like, actually, I need my pills. She nibbles on some food here and there, but overall, she starts to lose a lot of weight because she's in this room for weeks. Nobody comes to talk to her. Nobody tells her anything. She doesn't know what's going on. And then she starts to sing for hours and hours. And she hasn't really sung, not for her own personal joy or entertainment or anything like that. Since her dad died, all she's got to do to distract herself is to sing. And so she thinks of all these old mountain songs that her and her dad used to sing, things that she learned in school. It was like no time passed at all. I knew every single word, every single beat to every song that I've ever known in my life. Her morphling dosages also get smaller and smaller. Thinks it's odd because if I'm being executed, it might be a lot easier for them to execute me if I'm doped up. And then she starts to wonder, are they just trying to decide how they're going to use me again in another game? Finally, Haymitch comes in one day and says, get dressed, we're going home. Your trial's up. The whole time they were having a trial for her. She's like, well, where is home? I don't even know where home is. They are going back to District 12 because remember the Victor's Village was still standing, so she does have a house there. Her, Plutarch, and Haymitch are in a hovercraft, and Plutarch is going through what happened that she wasn't able to see as soon as she shot the arrow. Snow's body was discovered, and there was speculation on whether or not he choked on his own blood or was trampled to death, but no one really seemed to care too much to find out. I think he choked on his blood. That would be a lot more poetic. I'd be kind of let down if he was stomped to death. An emergency election was had. Guess who is the new leader of Pan Am? Commander Paler here. Commander Paler Swift is the new president of Pan Am. Plutarch was appointed Secretary of Communications, which means he has set the programming for the airwaves, and his first bit of business was televising Katniss's trial. Katniss's doctor, Aurelius, Dr. A, really the deciding factor. He pled innocent on reasons of insanity. She kind of is. One condition of her release is that she'll have to have frequent meetings with him, but he says they will be on the phone because I would never dare to step foot in District 12. I have my standards, but I'll talk to you on the phone. District 12, where she is now confined to. And no one knows really what to do with Katniss now that the war is over, and now that the Hunger Games are over. They're not having those symbolic Hunger Games. Those were not gonna happen. As soon as something pops up, Plutarch will be right there asking her to come back and be the face of whatever it may be. Gets kind of snarky with Plutarch because, you remember, Plutarch, from her perspective, it looks like Plutarch had a good hand in the parachute, so she's not necessarily Plutarch's biggest fan. But she says, are you planning another war, Plutarch? And he's like, well, no, but humans are always doomed to repeat cycles, but maybe they're seeing the tides change and the shift in evolution. He's getting dropped off in District 3 to start working with Beatty on, I don't know, something to do with the airwaves, or something technical, and it doesn't matter. And then Katniss and Haymitch are left alone, and she's like, well, why are you coming back to 12? They don't know what to do with me there either, so you're stuck with me. And then she starts thinking, you know what, you're not confined to 12. You didn't assassinate anybody. And then she says, are you coming back to 12 to be my mentor, to look after me because my mom's not coming? Yeah, her mom is not coming back to 12. Gives her a letter that her mother wrote. She doesn't read it for a bit. It's just too hard for her to go back without her father and without Prim. She's gonna go ahead and go to District 4 and start working in a hospital over there. Oh, I wanted so badly for Katniss and her mom to, I don't know what I wanted from them. I wanted them to be closer than ever, but that's not the case. Haymitch brings her back home. She sits in the kitchen and just watches a fire. She stays in the kitchen in the same spot for weeks. She only goes to the bathroom that's just right outside the kitchen and then comes back and sits in the same spot. She doesn't bathe. She doesn't talk to hardly anybody. Greasy Say comes by with her granddaughter in the mornings and the evenings to cook her breakfast and dinner and make sure she eats, but that's about it. Tries to get her to go out and like, maybe you should try going on a walk, go hunting, go check the closet. Her bows that were in the woods, Gale had saved them from the fires, put them in the closet, and then all of her personal things that were in her drawer in District 13. This is interesting, and I was trying to look it up. I couldn't find any answers. I don't know what happened to the pearl. I'm gonna tell myself that she still has the pearl with her, or the pin. I guess the pin will stay with the suit. She lies on her couch and she has a nightmare. All of the people that she's ever known to have died, throwing dirt on her in a grave, and she can hear the shovel, like shoveling dirt, and it wakes her up. And then she's like, wait a minute, no, I really do hear a shovel. Bestie, she goes outside. Peeta is out there. Oh, I also didn't mention, her phone has been ringing off the hook. It's her mother calling, her doctor's calling. So when she goes and sees Peeta, he's shoveling in the flower bed, and he's like, oh, I just got released from the Capitol. Also, you need to answer the phone because your doctor keeps calling, and that was part of the stipulation. You know, you're not in prison right now. He looks a lot better, looks so much healthier. And then she's realizing she probably looks busted. Her hair's matted and greasy. She hasn't showered. She's digging in the flower bed, and he says, well, I found these in the woods. I figured that we could plant them beside your house. They're primrose flowers. I'm gonna need you to stop. So this makes her choke up, and she just is like, okay. And then she runs inside, runs up to her room where that rose from the very beginning is still there, still strong as ever. She throws the roses into the fire. Blue flame comes out of it, and she's like, fire beats roses every time. Takes a shower finally. Greasy Say comes over to cook her breakfast. She's like, I think I'm gonna go out and go hunting today. Greasy Say's like, finally, man, give me something new to cook. Walking through town, she sees one of Gale's old mining buddies. People have come back to District 12 to help clean it up, and they're trying to rebuild it. Cleaning out the mayor's house. Did you find them in there? She hasn't heard anything about the mayor or his family at all, Madge. He says, yeah, we found the whole family. The mayor, his wife, their daughter, and the 2 people that work there. And they have their bodies on the back of a wagon. The love story that will never be. I'll hold on to that thought. Gale, nope. Madge is gay. Katniss now can put her to rest in her mind. The girl that gave her the Mockingjay pin and the girl that gave her name in this rebellion is now officially gone. I mean, she was gone a couple months ago, but you know what I mean. She goes out to the woods. The fence is not electrified anymore. There's no need for it. The rock that her and Gale meet up at, or did, she just gets overwhelmed again because she realizes Gale is never coming back. Probably never see him ever again. So now he's probably over in District 2 falling in love with somebody else, kissing another pair of lips. This scene in the movie and in the book made me cry. When she gets home, she sees Buttercup. And she's like, how the f did you make it? Doesn't know if he was kicked out of 13, if he ran away when Prim was gone, but he's made it all the way back to 12. He's scratched and bloodied up, so he's been through some shit. This is where she has her whole breakdown, and she loses it. Throws things at him. She's not coming back. Prim is dead, and you wasted your time coming here, so go away, you f***ing furball. He's just standing off to the side like, well, she works herself up so bad that she passes out. When she wakes up, he's still there with her, sitting guard. And they form a new bond. I don't think they'll ever love each other. She helps him, like, cleaning up his cuts, opens up the letter that her mom wrote. She gives her a call. They both cry about Prim, about everything. A phone call with her doctor. And she tells him about the idea she has of a new book that she wants to write. Everybody in her life and Peeta's life. Her and Peeta write down and include a picture, or Peeta will draw a picture. Every person that they've lost. Details about their fallen friend. Lady licking Prim's cheek. Katniss's father's laugh, Peeta's father's cookies, Finnick's eyes, what Cinna could do with a string of silk when Boggs gave over the hollow, Rue looking like a bird in flight when she spun around on her heel, and then Haymitch joins in, and he contributes 23 years worth of kids that he's mentored during the games. Things are added throughout the years, like a picture of Annie with her and Finnick's son. Yeah, Finnick had a son. They all learn to keep busy. Peeta bakes, Katniss hunts, and Haymitch drinks. Distract themselves, like what Finnick said. Haymitch actually, what he starts doing to distract himself, starts to raise geese. And Katniss is like, well, the geese are pretty self-sufficient, so he doesn't have to do much. But the districts grow back over time. The mines are all closed. Capitol, now run by Queen Paler. They've sent in equipment to help build a new factory in District 12 where they're going to start producing medicine. The meadow has grown back to a nice green, full of life again. And she says that every now and then Peeta will have moments where he's got to calm himself down, bring himself back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. I'm done. I'm sorry. Katniss says that whenever she has nightmares, Peeta is always there to help her go back to sleep. And shut up. Let me read you this. Peeta's always there to hold her, though, something that she doesn't think Gale would be able to do. She doesn't need his fire. She needs the yellow dandelion growing out of the winter snow. The promise that life will go on no matter how bad. And when he asks her if she still loves him, real or not real, she will answer, always real. Shut up, Suzanne Collins. I'm gonna punch you in the throat. I just think it'd be better if I read you the epilogue. She wrote it out way better than I can summarize it. I hate hearing my reading voice. I'm sorry. They play in the meadow. The dancing girl with the dark hair and blue eyes, the boy with blonde curls and gray eyes, struggling to keep up with her on his chubby toddler legs. It took 5, 10, 15 years for me to agree, but Peeta wanted them so badly. When I first felt her stirring inside of me, I was consumed with a terror that felt as old as life itself. Only the joy of holding her in my arms could tame it. Carrying him was a little easier, but not much. The questions are just beginning. The arenas have been completely destroyed. The memorials built. There are no more Hunger Games, but they teach about them in school, and the girl knows we played a role in them. The boy will know in a few years. How can I tell them about that world without frightening them to death? My children, who take the words of the song for granted. Deep in the meadow, under the willow, a bed of grass, a soft green pillow. Lay down your head and close your sleepy eyes, and when again they open, the sun will rise. Here it's safe, here it's warm, here the daisies guard you from every harm. Here your dreams are sweet, and tomorrow brings them true. Here is the place where I love you. My children who don't know they played on a graveyard. Peeta says it will be okay. We have each other and the book. We can make them understand in a way that will make them be braver. But one day I'll have to explain about my nightmares, why they came, why they won't ever really go away. I'll tell them how I survived it. I'll tell them that on the bad mornings, it feels impossible to take pleasure in anything because I'm afraid it could be taken away. Hang on, this part is new. That's when I make a list in my head of every act of goodness I've seen someone do. It's like a game, repetitive, even a little tedious after more than 20 years. But there are much worse games to play. The end. Suzanne Collins, when I catch you out on the street, it's on sight. You guys, pat on the back for me. This has been truly a test of mine. We have completed the original trilogy. We are closing it out. We got 2 more to go. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and Sunrise on the Reaping. I cannot promise you when they're coming out because this one took me so long. I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize for it. I'm debating on whether or not I think I'm gonna move everybody that is dead into the graveyard, and then I'll keep like our core players. I'll have like a, I don't know, VIP spot for them because I feel like they should still be on the board. Whatever. It's for me to decide and you to find out. Thank you all so much for watching. If you've hung around for this whole thing or you've waited for this one to come out, I really do appreciate it. I'm so sorry it's taken me this long to do it. I don't know what else to say. I'm fucking tired, but we did it. My voice just cracked. Ding. I think I said it in the last one. I feel like Thanos. I feel like I'm going to collect all these infinity stones. I think because I've taken so many breaks in between filming, my back doesn't hurt that much. Normally at the end of these videos, I'm like, oh, my aching back, my bones. I can't go on. I'm actually okay right now. Oh, I say, and I'm going to go rumble and disintegrate on my bed. All right. I love you, sweats.